It is, but look at the clock. As you say, who cares what your accuracy is? Look at the time. I think that Danya should try to flag Magnus here.
100% agreed that you can't let games like this go by. You got to flag him, especially when there's a knight on the board, right? So many tricks possible, like forks. In fact, that's a huge heads-up play by Magnus to get the knights off the board.
Dirty flag him. It's rook against rook and pawn. Who cares? Do not repeat moves. Give checks. And if you're Magnus, you probably just do not push the pawn. That way you get a 50 move rule.
Yep. Yeah, at this point, the writing is on the wall that you're not going to have enough time to win if you're Magnus, so don't push the pawn and take the draw.
No draw. This isn't searching for Bobby Fischer. That's a win for Daniel Naroditsky.
He raises his hand apologetically. Danya is such a sweetheart. For those who don't know, the level of respect Danya has for just the sanctity of the game of chess. As someone who flags people a lot, 28% of his victories, you should just know Danya feels bad about every single dirty flag he's ever done, genuinely.
Mm-hmm. That was like in tennis when you hit a really hard shot and then it hits the net and then gently rolls over and you're like, sorry about that. Like, you got the point the way you needed to. There was nothing unethical about it. So Danya, he is only down by 1 point. His position looks really bad from the black side. And by the way, we saw that chat voted and 22% of you believe in Danya. The other 78% think Magnus is going to win.
Yeah. I don't think that's a huge surprise. Magnus wins a lot of votes. When people ask who's going to win a match, look at this. There's a trick here on the board. White's d7 pawn, I guess, is going to rule the day here in the end. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm. D7, and
that pawn will push.
Don't look at that by Magnus. Do not take the bishop because the king would have rushed over to e7 to win the pawn. So bishop e3, a stellar retreat, and here comes the bishop to c7, and that should be it.
Yeah, nice heads-up defense, though. Getting the but Magnus, he'll have none of it. You will not slow down the pawn. A little head bob, that T-Swift, hitting it. Let's just hope it's not Carly Rae Jepsen.
Whoa.
Nothing wrong with Carly Rae.
Yeah, what are you gonna... What just happened there?
Why I said that.
Yeah, why are you going against Carly Rae Jepsen? Why don't we talk about Shawn Mendes for a second? Whoa! 96! That pawn was pinned!
Don't do that. Whoa, 96 check! He blundered it! And Don just smiles, but Magnus laughing a little bit. Oh, wait, it's not over.
No.
I thought it was just over. Winning.
This is a very complicated game where Black's up in exchange. And look at that awareness from Magnus. Queen h5 gets those queens off the board. Black apparently isn't even better, but Black does have 2 rooks to White's 1.
Yeah, this is completely turned around. For a game that started with a knight d6 check, borderline smothered mate, Magnus gets the queens off the board, heads up play, which makes his king safe. And now he should be winning in this endgame.
But I'm looking at the clocks, and anytime I see Magnus within a couple seconds of Danya, I'm actually worried for Magnus, because Danya is faster in these time scrambles. There's plenty of time left, too much extra material for Black for the moment, but Danya is smart to play this out.
Totally agreed. Especially if you're not down, at this point, there's still 19 minutes left in the match. You're not in a position where you need a new game to get and he finds a fork just like that. It's turning back around.
Second knight d6 of the game, and that's going in Danya's way. Still up upon is Magnus Carlsen, and he's up a couple seconds, but I'm telling you, Magnus would want to be up 4 seconds into time scrambles because Danya is faster.
Yep. You can already sort of smell the dirty flag coming here. you can smell it, and Magnus can feel it too. Look at the level of pre-moving that he's engaged here. Hoping for a draw.
Oh, no draw. Magnus played on.
No, and actually, wants more.
Magnus is slightly ahead of the clock, but Danya's king gets back in time. It's in the box, so the black king will eat d3.
It's going to be a draw now anyway. Okay.
Whew, Danny. But Danya was lost, objectively, and he fought back because he knows when to resign and when to play on.
And I was actually surprised by Magnus's decision to keep pushing there. I think that if he does that too many times, he might regret it, because especially when you have a 2-game lead, I would be okay with a draw rather than take my chances in a dirty flag competition with Danya. I don't want to be in a dirty flag competition with that guy, right? And so I'm a little surprised by that risk there that Magnus took.
Yeah, because yesterday, Hikaru against Alireza, Hikaru won bishop and rook pawn, a draw, because it was the wrong colored bishop for the corner. A couple times he just flagged Alireza, the same exact endgame. We almost saw, for the second time in this match, rook against rook and a couple pawns to a win in time trouble. But right now, we're seeing Danya try to use the queenside to his advantage. He's down in exchange. Not the first time today we've seen that. But he's gobbling up queenside pawns, and that's a passer.
Yep. Yeah, this is, objectively a very balanced position. In Bullet, it's actually hard to choose which side is easier to play. The bishops and the pass pawn feel good, but long-term, that knight will be tricky in the time scramble.
But look at that move. Bishop
Wow.
A2. He's
Nice
saying your,
move.
your rook's useless. And Bishop H6, Bishop C1. How is white going to defend this?
You have to go knight A3 at the end of it. Oh, Magnus, I don't know what he anticipated there.
Unclear. But Danya is in charge. And look at the clock, by the way. Not only is Danya
Yeah.
probably better with the two bishops versus the rook, he is well ahead on time. And as long as he doesn't blunder a piece, he should be able to take this game.
Agreed. Yeah, this is Danya's game to win. Look at the time advantage just increasing for Naroditsky here. This is the position Magnus is afraid of. Doesn't want to be in these spots. Danya's going to, I think, bring this thing within a game here.
And if I'm Danya, I don't
crazy happening.
know how many moves have been made, but I might throw in G4 at the moment, trying to catch him. Or
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
I gave
just
up
to
a
be
pawn.
sure.
So
Okay,
losing
there
a
you go.
pawn is actually a good thing because there's no 50 move ruling. Oh, but that's not good.
Oh, that's not a good thing, but Magnus only has 2 seconds. Not going to. Oh, he's going to get everything off the board. Oh, he had a chance. Take the bishop. He had a chance.
It's
Wow. Wow, what a save by Magnus there. And that is unfortunate for Danya because that was a rare chance to get a victory. He didn't take it.
Yeah, that was a save by Magnus. So he's proving you guys may call me out and say I can't handle myself in the scrambles. He said, no, this one I have under control. But honestly, that was Danya blundering a piece. He was trying to pre-move the way through. And now with the white pieces, though, look at this for Danya. Apparently, it's just winning for white.
Danya's keeping with it here. And, not only is he better in these, well, he's consistently up on time. Magnus did just hold his own in that scramble. But Danya's been playing a high level of chess here. Bishop A6, what a tricky move.
He blundered. Look at this. The rook is
Well,
under
it's
attack.
E4, there's F5.
Yeah, and if you
Wait, what
defend the rook, then you lose the knight at the end. So I think, how is this equal?
Is it some sort of check and queen H4 guarding the rook?
Oh,
No, at the end there's
You know what it is, Danny? It's rook takes A8 and knight D7, knight F8, and then the king can't escape.
Oh
So
my god, with a perpetual.
that's impossible to find.
I don't think Magnus sees it, and I definitely think Danya doesn't see it because he's clearly frustrated. He actually just resigned. Oh my gosh. That's one of those where the engine is just so unfair for us, but it is actually a really cool thing because the instructive moment of this perpetual on knight F8 we never would have spotted.
No.
If not for the computer saying the position was level.
I mean, we sat there clueless for a little bit, and like, how is this equal? And I'm like, okay, you're telling me it's equal. Any queen move seems to lose a piece, so let's go for that. And that is ridiculous. You can't expect to find that even in a blitz game. And bullet, no shot. So Danya, with the black pieces, he just stole a pawn. He's actually playing quite well in this match.
Agreed. Yeah, here he goes. He's up a pawn. And up on the clock, significantly, by the way.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity to stay with it, get it back within a couple games after that crazy loss. But Magnus is also, he's pulling a Danya too. Even when he's losing, he's making it hard, he's dragging it out. And if he does have a lead, it's in his best interest to get as much time off the clock as possible. Only 13 minutes remain right now. Whoa, we have a blunder.
That was
Danya's
nice.
going to get it with the fist pump. Let's go.
That was a nice game from start to finish as Danya secures his 4th point in the match. It's now 6-4. And we have to remember that it's win by 2. So as long as Danya can cut this to a 1-point deficit, even if time elapses, he's still in this.
Yeah. All right. What do we got now? We've got a simple, boring-looking symmetrical position, but Danya on the prowl.
I like the way you described it, Yeah, they just trade off all the pieces. Only E-file is open. This looks like it should be draw-ish, but I'm looking at the clock. I think Danya perfectly happy with equal positions where there are pieces left on the board and he can try to outplay Magnus. Although with that move, is he saying, I'm okay with the draw?
Yeah, I wonder. It's probably true that he's okay with a draw on this one, but I don't know that Magnus will take that. We know that Magnus is super tricky. We saw him. Okay, he does take a draw. I'm gonna say we saw him win 2 knight endgames against his buddy Jordan von Foreest at the Champions Chess Tour last week. Of course, a little bit of a different format in a rapid setting than a bullet setting, but okay.
And I wonder if Danya, if he really needs to win that game, let's say there was the last game of the match, I mean, he would have played that out, and maybe he could have posed some problems because he is that fast. And credit to Magnus, because Magnus, he's improved his game. I think the Magnus we're seeing now is better than we've seen in the last few days. He is leveling up, as Alireza said he had to.
Yeah, agreed. He's playing a playing better. Again, more focused, maybe a little more comfy in his home setting than he was on the road. Whether it's enough to get by Danya, Alireza, and Hikaru Nakamura, okay, that's going to be quite the tale if Magnus can complete a comeback and ultimately win today. But we'll deal with that later. Right now, we've got a rook endgame with queens on the board. Danya, again, holding his own. But Magnus up on the clock here.
Yeah, he is up a few seconds. He gets his queen in. Oh, but speaking of queen in, that could be scary for the king. And Magnus, he offers a queen trade A3, B6, both under attack because of the rook placement for white. So, whoa, is Danya going for more with that B5 move?
I think he is, and I think he should. The passed A pawn, whether objectively black's better or not, poses some problems practically for white. Look at this. He wants to break up. He loses the passed A pawn, right as I say it, and Magnus has turned it around. Danya on the defensive.
Oh. Can't take because rook A7.
Wait, you can't take rook A7? Yeah, wins the queen.
That's a problem. So that means Magnus up too much time, Danny.
Yeah, he's going to play rook B8 and then sack the queen on C7. Oh, but watch out for the draw.
Oh?
What?
Yeah, why did it go very far down there? Not sure.
A second queen, but there's a mate threat on G2. Okay, not anymore.
Yeah, it was there for a split
We've
second.
seen games already where someone's queen didn't help them stop mate earlier in the Bullet Chess Championship this week. So not to be there for Danya. Magnus increases his lead.
I mean, really nicely done there by Magnus, converting that advantage. He stole the A3 pawn and never looked back. And here Danya's playing one of his pet lines. It's this Jabala London system where look at these knights. These knights are on dark squares. That's a bishop on a light square. I'll put the knights in green, but they're outclassing that light square bishop, which is staring to thin air.
Yeah. So pretty. Knights on dark squares.
Oh, Queen C8.
Oh, Queen C8. Apparently not great. Hey, that rhymed. Now we're rolling.
What is going on here?
Look at this.
Magnus just
over the attack, Danya. Let's go.
Magnus sacked his rook, and then he sacked the pawn in the center. This is getting very confusing, but it looks like Magnus has gone astray.
Looks like he's gone astray, but I don't. With every move, the evaluation seems to change. And then there was potential knight F2, so the queens come off the board.
So
From a
confusing.
practical perspective, I don't know who is easier to play, though, in Bullet here. That D pawn is so dangerous.
And you have to sacrifice for it. So he's going to give a check. Oh, he's making the draw that he could have had in the other game. But I wonder...
But is there a mating net? Is there...
Not.
There's nothing more than a draw.
Yeah, this pawn. Too strong. And Danya, he spent a bit of time there calculating, but he needs all the time that he has left.
Making sure.
But he needs the time. That's the thing. You want to win games.
You're right.
It's tough.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree that you got to make those decisions as fast as you can. But I think Danya just wanted to make sure he wasn't missing, right?
Right.
We have the luxury of the eval bar saying it's a draw. He didn't want to walk away from a mating net. All right. Sveshnikov structure with G3. Magnus knows these positions well, and now this move G4. Wow.
Ooh, this queen lands in the center, but rook hits it. And is there an attack? This G4 pawn is loose over here, but maybe there's a problem if you take it. The G file opens up against the black king. And trying to see. It does take it. That's a brave decision from Danya. And he's in sort of that must-win territory. So why not go for it? And we might see another repetition. Clever stuff here from Magnus. And
clever stuff from Magnus to save the draw. We're now... Sorry, what?
I would say Magnus is not moving because he has the draw by repetition. This is where gamesmanship comes in. He's only going to make that draw when he's down to like 2 seconds left.
We see we see Magnus chuckling. All the players know that there's that kind of larger meta strategy in these SCC formats, whether it's the Bullet Chess Championship or the Cheat Chess Championship. You have to use the clock. But it kind of makes them laugh because that's such an element that has never existed in chess, right? Before this format, where you're basically playing another game that isn't on the board. And you got to respect it because what he's doing there, Robert, is saying that he respects Danya's ability to make a comeback, right? Mm-hmm. So don't take it the wrong way. He's like, look, I'm milking the format here because I know what Bullet is. I know what Danya's capable of, and I'm going to get every second off the clock that I can.
Yeah, it's a smart strategy. We've seen Hikaru do that over the years, and I saw a feature chat saying the Hikaru way. The best players who have been around, who have played these formats, they know what to do. And Magnus castles queenside, and we're going to see it, Alpha Zero style, open up this H file and go for an attack.
Here comes Harry. Simon Williams not with us today, but always here in spirit. Harry for the win. And that's going to be very dangerous for Danya.
And Danya has to just drum up some queenside pressure if he can, but oh no. Danny, the pawns are dropping in front of the white king. This feels too dangerous.
This is looking painful. And a victory here would stretch the lead to 4 games with probably roughly 6.5 minutes left. This is getting hard. It's win or go home, and it needs to start right about now if you're Danya, because Magnus is almost in the territory where he can just start letting the clock tick.
Yeah, let's see. With 6 minutes and 30 seconds remaining, and Danya needing to score 3 wins in a row to cut it to 1. So there is enough time. Barely. But Danya needs to win the next 3 games. Uh-oh.
Got to start now. Off to a... Oh,
yeah, he's pre-moving everything.
Weird position here.
He blundered a pawn because he's like pre-moving nonstop. It's good strategy. You might lose this game, but a draw to loss is the same for the match. So you need to move instantly, win instantly, and Danya's doing all he can.
4 games is the deficit. You don't want it to become 5. But you're in that weird spot, Robert, where if you defend this position for a minute longer and hold a draw, that hurts too, because you just lost another minute on the clock and didn't get a victory. So Danya needs to find a way to swindle this night end game and get a tricky win.
I think he swindled himself there by pushing the pawn and leaving a6 behind. Oh, and Magnus, he might not even want to win. He's going for the win, but I thought he just might make the draw there.
Yeah, knight d3, knight c5 was a draw there, but he wants more. A win here essentially puts the match away, right? We never want to call it too soon, but it's getting tough. It's going to be under 5 minutes with a 5-game deficit. Oh, man. This was awesome, though. Is it weird that I'm already excited for next year's Bullet Chess Championship? And we're right here. you know that I'm already like...
You know why I'm excited for that, Danny? And this is not a shout out in a bad way. It's a shout in a good way. Nihal Sarin, wherever you are right now, I know you're probably going to watch this at some point. Please play. You were invited. I know you're busy, but we would love to see Nihal join the party because we have the best bullet players on the planet here, and I feel like Nihal's really the name that is absent from this field.
I completely agree. It'll also help with the Twitter hate that I received from all of your fans in India, Nihal Sarin, because they thought we didn't invite you. Of course we invited you. And so next year you have to play so that people know we didn't mess that up.
And, well, this match, it's in the books by, right now, a 5-point margin, and we'll see how it ends. But you could see Magnus bopping his head. He's a different Magnus than we saw earlier in the competition. He is back home. That probably helps. He's on his normal setup. But he's also just playing a lot better, and I would say faster in the scrambles. When he was playing from Barcelona, Danny, I don't know if you watched this part, he was like shaking his hand after every game. He said his hand was falling asleep. He didn't have a good setup. So at home, Magnus seems to be increasingly dangerous for the opposition.
It sounds silly, but this format, as much as anything, brings out the sporting elements of the physical setup players have at home, right? You need a table that supports your wrist. I mean, seriously, right? If you're on an awkward table and your wrist is on the edge, everyone has had that, right? You can't play with a touchpad unless you're Robert Hess. You know, I mean, seriously, you need your setup to do well. And the physical elements of whatever makes chess an esport, if you want to call it that, are really highlighted in this event. And we'll see if that is enough to help Magnus turn around his fortunes and maybe make it all the way to the grand final. And I'm not going to lie, we can already start talking about it. I still see Alireza as the favorite in the next round. I love Danya. We're not looking past him, but this one's over. And I think that Firouzja Magnus is, we're about to break the internet here. And I think Alireza is still the slight favorite against the former world champ. Not sure if you agree.
He did beat Magnus a couple days ago, and he started with a 3-0 lead, and the final margin was a 3-point match victory for Alireza. So I think that Alireza has proven himself to be the best contender to Hikaru Nakamura's title. In fact, Alireza won the 2021 edition of this event by beating Hikaru. And as we look at this position, Magnus well on his way to another victory, it would seem, with a huge attack and a huge lead on the clock. I think that you're right, that Alireza is the favorite. But Magnus, in this form, the way he just demonstrated his bullet skills against Danya here, I think that he's showing that he should not be overlooked himself.
I agree. I agree. Well, we're going to see what happens here in probably about 15 minutes in total. Fans, go call everybody. Be like, hey, what are you doing? Why are you working? It's Friday. Come watch the Bullet Chess Championship because the bleep is about to go down.
It is Friday. People, man, they might take it easy. And the real question is, are you sitting in the front seat or sitting in the back seat?
Right. Either way, I'm having a party with you, and yeah. I don't remember exactly the line, but hey, here we go.
Oh, 97.
What happened there? Magnus
goes with the fork.
Fork down, E7 town, C5 hangs town. Mm-hmm. Danya going to get a win town.
Yeah, no, Danya, he has played a really good match. So even though the margin of victory right now is quite heavily in Magnus's favor, part of that was induced by the lack of time, where Danya started. He played not even bullet chess; he played hyper bullet in a 1-minute game. But Magnus is the deserved winner. But I think what I'm trying to say is that Danya has proven himself to be a seriously awesome player, and we knew that. But it's also good to see him against Hikaru, against Magnus, and they're going to be the only two people who have beaten him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially because Danya is a guy you watch play bullets so much, right? Everyone is a fan of Danya Naroditsky's stream, and I think sometimes the haters, if you want to call them that, would be like, but how does Danya do against the best guys in the world? And we see he holds his own. He beats these guys. And frankly, I think there were a couple games earlier in this match that if they had gone the other way, because bullet is such a game of momentum, who knows, right? And again, the final score is what it is for a reason. Magnus Carlsen is going to win by probably roughly six games here, even if Danya gets this one. But I think Danya's chess has been better than the final result. So that's my long-winded way of saying I agree with you, Robert. And I love you.
I appreciate both of those things. It's mutual. And we are going to get one more game. So 15 seconds on the match clock. And Danya's happy, but he, as you were saying earlier, he has so much respect for the game of chess, but he has this loyalty to the game so much that he respects the top players, maybe too much at times. I think that he respects them, like he doesn't want to flag them. He put up his hands, but you have to be shameless in the Bullet Chess Championship. There are no friends, as we found out yesterday when he played his good friend Oleksandr Bortnik. But Danya, he gets one more game. He relishes the opportunity to play against the best of the best. And right now, all right, in this final one, he is worse. But let's see if he can pull out another victory, one for the road.
Yep. 2 for the money, 1 for the road, 3 to get ready, and 4 to go. Wait, I said it wrong, but you get it.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to do.
And hey, okay, the bishops are nasty, but knights are tricky in a time scramble. So if he can keep it close, Magnus, by the way, is just like feeling it, right? We saw him DJing the other night or something. Now we see him just bobbing his head, and he's in his zone. I think there's something therapeutic when you're in the flow, I think that's what you said earlier. When you're in the flow, listening to music, playing a game you love, I think the players really, really love this format.
Yeah, and I think Magnus loves the fact that he's moving on. He gets another chance against Alireza, and we know that vengeance, it motivates some people, and Magnus not really an exception to that. And he says winning once, that's not revenge. And he would like to take down Alireza. And imagine Danya going for a little cheeky,
I love it.
Pre-move against me.
Magnus smiles.
Please take
that
my
was
rook.
So funny. That was so funny.
Oh, you can't take the rook. But you
Look at that. Look at that pin. And Danya laughs. And Magnus is like, wait, what?
To a knight. Does Magnus have auto queen on? Take it and get a knight.
Take it, yeah. Hold alt and promote to a knight. We're gonna definitely make sure Magnus knows that. That was good. By the way, fans, for the inside joke, in case you're not realizing, it's stalemate if you take the rook. That's what's going on here. And Magnus gets it. And Magnus plays along. Oh, that was so good. So good.
I don't think Magnus knows that he doesn't have to auto queen if he holds down alt. And Hammer has experienced that, his compatriot and so his friend. So Danya, he gets a draw. That was hilarious. A great way to end that match.
Yep. That was awesome. Couple of thumbs up. Danya acknowledging whatever our team is telling him behind the scene. Producers, fair play. I think you might be joining us for an interview. And that was awesome. What a fun way to end it. Danya held his own against, as our show open says, the greatest all-around player of all time. Will he win the Bullet Chess Championship when today is done? We don't know yet. But Magnus does win this match, 12.5, 7.5.
Yeah, 5-point match victory for Magnus Carlsen. And for Danya, he was smiling at the end. He deserves to hold his head up high. He put forth a great fight to Magnus. And this is a different Magnus than in previous days. That's clear to me. So Magnus, he deserves the lion's share of the praise here, beating Daniel Naroditsky by 5 in a 30-minute bullet match. But Danya, I mean, there's nothing to be disappointed about there. It was a really good tournament for him. He beat Andrew Tang by 8 points. He beat Bortnick. He's done very, very well throughout this event. He just got stopped by first Hikaru and second Magnus.
Yeah, it's not a bad story to tell, right? I lost to Hikaru Nakamura and Magnus Carlsen. You'll take that one along with the $8,000 that you get for playing in the 4th place final position. So amazing stuff. Again, I think we called it. We knew that Danya needed to get off to a good start. If he had managed a little better there, who knows what happens. Bullet is such a game of momentum, even more than any other format we have online. And Magnus gets it rolling and couldn't be stopped.
And the bracket now is down to 3 remaining players as Daniel Naroditsky exits the field. It is Alireza Firouzja against Magnus Carlsen there in the losers final. And the winner of this match, their name will be placed right underneath Hikaru Nakamura in the grand final. So there is a lot at stake in the match that is coming up. But before we get there, we're going to get an interview with Daniel Naroditsky. So the chat, please, get involved. You ask your questions. We'll feature some of them. And I'm just really excited to hear Danya's thoughts on the flip side of this break.
This course is about white playing d4, all the tools you need to get an advantage with white and not be tricked early in the opening. Now, it has a really long, complicated name that I'm going to mispronounce now, so you can make fun of me. Okay, don't make fun of me too much. I'm trying to help you here. It's called the Chelyabinsk variation, and I'm probably mispronouncing Chelyabinsk. That's why I call it the A6 Slav.
And then there were three. We are now down to the final trio of participants here in the Bullet Chess Championship. Magnus Carlsen, he moved on after defeating Daniel Naroditsky. It was a fun match. It was tight for a few there, but Magnus pulled away with impressive speed, Danny.
Yeah, he did. And he won on the board. He also held his own on the clock against a guy who, as we saw when we did the head-to-head stats, wins 28% of his bullet games by flagging people. Danya is the best in the biz when it comes to dirty flagging, but Magnus held his own, ultimately got the job done. We'll get another chance against the guy who sent him to the losers bracket, and Alireza Firouzja.
And before we see Magnus get that chance, we are going to bring in none other than Daniel Naroditsky for an interview. Danya, sorry that this match didn't go your way. I mean, you impressed so many people along the way. I know it must be tough just to be on the back of an elimination here, but are you glad that you played, and how are you feeling about your overall level?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Obviously, I'm really, really sad to be eliminated and not to have an outside shot at the top three. But I'm more than happy I played. It was really an honor to participate in the tournament. My like minimum goal was to not make a fool of myself, maybe beat a couple of good players. And I knew that realistically, if Magnus and Hikaru play in the best conditions, I don't have much of a chance against them. And they did. And I gave them a really, really good fight. I think even this match was pretty close. If a couple of games had gone my way, this could have been, a 1 or 2 point match. So I'm really proud of the way that I fought against them. I've got nothing to be embarrassed about. I lost to Magnus and Hikaru, and I'm more than happy to take my hat off. These two players are just otherworldly, and I really had the time of my life. So any bullet tournament like this, sign me up. I'll be the first in line.
Anya, you obviously, as you said, have nothing to be embarrassed about at all. Losing to Hikaru Nakamura and Magnus Carlsen is a good thing to write home about. But for so many people, you have so many fans, they watch you play, they watch you dominate other people on stream, where you are just worldly. You are otherworldly. You are in a class above the majority of human beings who play chess, especially in bullet. So if you don't mind, what is the thing that separates Magnus and Hikaru a little bit? If it's not just one thing, but in the experience of playing them, what did you feel allows them to just pull away in those big moments?
I think Magnus and Hikaru are two different beasts. So the formula that makes each one of them great, I think, is a little bit distinct. But without delving too deeply into the particulars of what distinguishes the two, I'll take Magnus because I spoke about Hikaru a little bit in yesterday's interview. In terms of Magnus, I think it's 3 or 4 different things that he does better than anybody else on the planet. I mean, first of all, what Magnus and Hikaru both have in common are openings. Like, I am not a professional player. I don't study openings. I don't have a 7-person team preparing files for me. And when they take matches seriously, like Magnus did today, and they play their main repertoire, their understanding of the positions that they're most comfortable with are off the charts. Like, they will make a move in 1 second that I very likely wouldn't be able to come up with in a classical game. It's also the consistency. Magnus today was able to avoid 1-move blunders, and the blunders he did make were mostly like a pawn or maybe an exchange. And it's very important not to not blunder, because that's not possible, but to make sure the blunders you make don't immediately get you to a lost position. That was the difference between our two blunders, right? Not all blunders are created equal. So there was that consistency. And of course, the speed is really unbelievable. I'm fast in time scrambles, right? Like, I'm fast in a rook versus rook situation. But in the early middle game, the speed with which Magnus makes decisions in critical moments is crazy. Like, my mouth literally falls open, and it really is just an honor to be on the receiving end of that and to play in a way that allows Magnus to bring out that strength. So I was happy that, that I forced him to do that. But when these two players are in their best form, it's literally like playing an engine. It's almost indistinguishable.
Danya, I mean, we love to hear that. I mean, the admiration and respect you have for them is clear to all. And I just want to note that you smiled when you got your first victory against Magnus. Very few people on this planet can say they've beaten Magnus in any time control. But what does that moment feel like?
Well, it's a moment that I'm going to, tell my grandkids about. And I'm going to make clear that I got crushed by Magnus 99% of the time that we played. But just the feeling of beating the greatest player who's ever lived in the history of humankind is already something that I'm going to hang my hat on, especially because, again, I wear many, many hats. I don't study chess anymore with any kind of regularity. And I think some people kind of expect me to go toe to toe against Magnus and Hikaru, which is a little bit absurd. From my perspective, I'm just happy when I give them a fight. And when you're able to win a game, it gives you a big rush. Like, it just gives you a lot of confidence, and particularly a game in which I managed to outplay him, which there were only a couple in this match. But each one of them is something that I'm going to remember many years down the line. So it really does mean a lot if you can get them to sweat a little bit.
You definitely do make them sweat, and you did in this event. Danya, I have a question from featured chat. We've got username R1P Jack wants to know, if you could play Magnus again in a few hours, what would you do differently, if anything?
Well, I would definitely check 1e4 a little bit more carefully. I think I struggled throughout this tournament in responding to 1e4. Like, I tried many different openings, but it's like whatever I played, Magnus had the perfect line prepared. Najdorf, he was playing g3 and crushing me. Alekhine, he refrained from the 4 pawns, which I actually prepared, but it's like he had a sixth sense, and he played the most annoying line. So I would take the prep a little bit more seriously. And other than that, I'll be totally honest. I'm very proud of the way that I played. I did my absolute best. I was locked in. I didn't have the feeling that I was playing badly. I had the feeling that I was playing to the absolute best of my ability. So the short answer is nothing. I just think Magnus is a better chess player across all time controls, and I'm more than happy to admit that.
You know, it's important to be honest. We always appreciate your honesty, and I'm going to put you on a spot a little bit here, Danya. Brex Carl asks, who are you rooting for to win the BCC?
Who am I? No, I can't. You know, I like all three of these players equally. I'm equally deferential to them. I'm a commentator. I definitely can't reveal anything on that front, but I just want a good match, honestly. It would be great if Reza strikes. I think one thing that annoyed me a little bit is how people sometimes in the chess world are, very quick to make these grand pronouncements about somebody being washed or somebody being on the decline. And I think Alireza has shown this tournament that he's still Alireza frickin' Firouzja. So I think it's going to be a really difficult match for Magnus. He might have to step up his game even more. But if he plays the way he did against me, I think we're in for an absolutely epic fight. So I didn't answer your question as usual, Robert, but I just want some good matches.
Yeah, at least go answer my text, and we're going to let you go, so do that. Also, you got to get your prep ready for Alireza's next Candace tournament when you play Marathon Bullet Sessions. But for now, Danya, it's been an absolute treat. Thank you so much for stopping by, and congratulations. I mean, you really deserve congrats for what was a fantastic performance at the BCC.
It's been a great privilege to play in this tournament alongside Magnus and Hikaru, and obviously you, Danny Simon, did an incredible job commentating, and I'm always ready to be back. So thanks to everybody for supporting me throughout the event. I really couldn't have done it without the wholesomeness of the chess community who are always behind me. So all friends and family, my mom who was watching, really, really helped me do very, very well. So thank you, everybody.
Hi, Lena.
Awesome.
Bye, Lena. Bye, Danya.
Bye, Mom.
Well, Danya Naroditsky, has nothing to be ashamed of. That was a fantastic performance throughout the Bullet Chess Championship for him, but he is eliminated from the field. We are moving on to Alireza versus Magnus Part 2. And Danny, as we dissect the numbers on screen here, peak rating in Alireza's favor. Number of games, Alireza's favor. Wins by flag and losses by flag about the same. So what's noteworthy to you here?
I was going to highlight not just the wins by flag and losses by flag, but the accuracy. I mean, this is a borderline coin flip, right? Look at that. There's a reason Alireza Firouzja beat Magnus Carlsen before. And he wants to do it again, right? These two guys are just locked in. It's a 50-50 match, in my opinion here. The stats say it. We know that the fans are probably not sure who's going to take this one. I still think Firouzja, if he plays the way that he did a couple days ago when he sent Magnus to the loser's bracket, is the favorite. But I wonder, Robert, and I want your opinion on this. Do you think as the day goes on, Magnus Carlsen gets stronger, right? Almost like, you think of Dragon Ball Z, right? He reaches 9,000. Like, as the day goes on, the fact that you came from the loser's bracket and are carrying momentum, working out all the kinks, and really just kind of feeling it, might really be in Magnus Carlsen's favor.
Yeah, I think also playing somebody in a series of games, the more games that you play, usually the better it is for Magnus Carlsen because he gets a feel of the opponent.
Yep.
And Magnus, I don't think we could talk about this enough. He is back home now. When he played from Barcelona, there were tons of distractions there. I mean, he was in the chess bar house. They were having the times of their lives. He wasn't on his typical.
You mean the
setup.
chess bras are distracting?
Well, I think that they are very entertaining. And so Magnus correctly was like, oh, they're great people to talk to and watch and drink, cocktails or mocktails with. But I mean, in all seriousness, we saw the graphic and with their insights, they are very neck and neck. And in that first match, Alireza won, but he won by 3 games, and he won the first 3 games of the match. So Magnus, if he's more competitive in the early stages of this match, I think we could see a different outcome.
I agree, especially because regardless of Alireza being, as Danya called him, Ali freaking Firouzja, right? Ali freaking Firouzja. Despite that, Magnus Carlsen still has that edge, right? That made him the GOAT and got him to be the best player in the world, the highest rated player in history. That I think if he gets on a roll, there's a little bit of a psychological factor, right? Where players can struggle against him because he's Magnus. And so you really called it well, I think. If Magnus gets off to a good start, maybe this match goes the other way, right? And he's the one winning by 3 games. So either way, at this point, no more speculation needed. We have chess on the board. Firouzja with a little bit of an edge here to start game 1.
Yeah, although the pawn structure is such that it looks pretty bad for white. And I'm looking at the clock. Magnus up 15 seconds. So he was doing this in their first match. He was well ahead in the clock. But what Magnus just showed against Danya, he has the mouse speed at the end of the game as well. So right now, I'm liking Magnus's position. He may be, actually not even down any material anymore after he stole the D pawn. Whoa, a queen sack! Because if you take the queen, the B pawn would become a C pawn and then become a new one.
Yeah, that was awesome. Okay, it's still a 50-50 game, but as you said, Magnus way up on the clock. Uh-oh. But now things have turned around, and Firouzja's got attacked. Magnus is, unbelievable there. Wait, no, Magnus turned it around there. I'm sorry, I was losing track of who was who.
No, you're fine. That happens in bullet, even for the players. Like, wait, am I black in this position? Yeah, you are. Oh, my goodness. Bishop takes h3 with mate on h2. That's a win for Magnus.
A brilliant move to start game 1 with a little bit of a head bob, whatever tunes he's listening to. It is working for Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah, that was the best start you could possibly imagine. And now Alireza with the black pieces. Look at this opening advantage for Magnus. He gives, I think in bullet chess, having double isolated pawns is the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even in regular games, double isolated pawns are not everyone's favorite. But in bullet chess especially, they are things that you wish you could just literally give away, right? Because you'd rather have the open lines, the open files and diagonals in bullet to give you some tactics. So I agree. Magnus, much better in game 2. You called it. Firouzja started out with a 3-0 lead earlier this week. If Magnus reverses that script, you could have Carlsen Nakamura in a final.
I mean, he's just cruising right now. This knight is going to land on d5 in the near future, like right now. Our rookie won first, okay? I don't know if it matters so much. But he brings his knight. Don't take the bishop, because knight f6 check, the queen would still protect the bishop on c6. Magnus, he drops the c2 pawn, though, and that gives Alireza some new life.
Yeah. And he's got the bishop pair. Now 1 is off the board, but still, this is much closer to equal. Firouzja also playing faster this game. Still down on the clock, but not nearly the deficit it was in game 1.
Oh, gosh.
Although, as I say that, it's going the other way. Firouzja shaking his head. And again, not calling anyone out in any way, but I am calling the momentum out. Magnus has already won a match today. He's looking fresh, feeling fresh in his home environment. Firouzja looks a little tired, just going to be honest, right? He doesn't look as fresh as he did earlier in the week. So we'll see if he can shake off whatever the fogs are, or he's facing a 3-0 deficit.
Maybe he needs Fabi to show up and tell him he's looking fresh, because some people are the recipient of that comment. Others, they never get it. But for Firouzja, it doesn't matter what we say. It matters what he does. And here he is, the white pieces. And Danny, he's worse once again. Look at Black's army in the center.
So good. You nailed it on that, by the way. So, by the way, Fabi is looking fresh, and I just want to say that again. All right. Yeah, the pawn's in the center. Pressure on the king. You always say bullet. King safety even more relevant, right? Because you don't have the time to work yourself out of a bind. That's an important trade there for Firouzja to get some of the tactics out of the way. But look at this. Magnus just rolling, still up on the clock again by 4 seconds. This is a different Magnus Carlsen, and we know Hikaru Nakamura is watching. What are we going to have here if Magnus moves on to the final?
I mean, you saw what the arrows I just drew. There's at some point going to be an attack on the diagonal going for queen h2 mate, like right now. He goes queen e5.
Queen e5 right now?
But he allowed the queen trade. That was an inaccuracy from Magnus.
For sure. That's a huge moment, and this might be a huge save. Firouzja needs to stop the bleeding. You don't want to fall down 3-0. Magnus wasn't able to recover from that earlier. He needs to hold this game.
But Magnus is slightly ahead on the clock, so he should use it as a weapon. And honestly, I think Magnus, what he should do is avoid losing. That sounds like, duh, you never want to lose. But you do not want to give Alireza that confidence. So he's locked the position up, and he's going for a win.
Oh my gosh. Look at the pawns. Look at the king. Magnus Carlsen wants the 3-0 start that Firouzja gave him earlier this week, returning the favor. Look at this. And he's also,
play.
Again, he's still up on...
But look at Firouzja. He cut the king off.
Yeah, that was brilliant with the rook.
And I'm looking at the time.
But it's coming down to time.
Oh my gosh. It is blunder, apparently, but not much time for either player.
There is no time. Magnus on a king run wants to flag him. But look at Firouzja. Flexing the better time scramble skills.
And
we have a match.
Is in the chat. What's up, Danya? Saying that Magnus' form is 100 times today what it was yesterday. But Firouzja just showed off the mouse speed. And that's the annoying thing. When someone has a rook and you just have a bishop, bishops can't deliver checks when the king is on the opposite color. The rooks can just pester you across the board. And the king was cut off. So limited movement for Magnus' pieces. And Alireza better with black in this game.
Yeah, I love it. And that's a really instructive point for Bullet. The idea that the rook is just an easier piece to play with there than the bishop. The bishop was constantly worried about blundering, right? Moving to the wrong square. The rook was in a dominant spot, which allowed Firouzja to pre-move his way back into a time advantage. So, interesting stuff. All right. Magnus still has a game lead, but Firouzja seems to have found it a little bit.
Yep. I can read between the lines here what you're saying. This game is not the most interesting Bullet game we've seen today.
You can hear that in my voice. It's like my voice goes higher when I'm insecure. Oh, he blundered! Oh, he blundered the queen! Blundered the fork. Look at the bob, the music. We obviously are going to ask Magnus what he's listening to, no matter how he finishes on the day.
I mean, that was actually a potential match-changing blunder because Alireza was up a pawn. He was better. There was no risk in the position except he fell into a knight fork, and that happens in bullet chess. Watch out for the knights.
Note that Magnus didn't walk into the fork on e2 there with that nice king h2 move. Very smart. Flexing the rook's dominance over the knight. He's going to take a 2-0 lead. Firouzja doesn't waste any time on the clock. Gets right back at it.
Yeah, 3-1 in Magnus's favor right now. 2-point spread, as you mentioned. And so we see it's now Caro-Kann time. And Alireza, he's a proponent of the Caro-Kann, and this is just a weird opening. This knight on c6 came from g8. Like, how do you explain that to somebody?
Sorry, I love that comment from JR Scribe. What would be spooky is if Magnus said he wasn't listening to any music. Anyway, that would be awesome. By the way, the chat did say Magnus Carlsen is the favorite here, 54% to 46%. Thanks for voting, chat. We'll see if you're right.
What's right is this position for black. Like, oh, what a tactic!
Ooh,
that knight could be captured in two ways, but the knight was pinned on the diagonal, and then when you capture the queen, look at all of black's army, and white has a limited one.
And by the way, look at e5. What a strong move to flex the center, knowing that you can't take that pawn without opening up lines for the rook, especially in bullet. You don't want your king to come under fire. So Magnus, as Don just said, his form is fire today.
Oh, and look at this h4 move. Where's the queen going? f6 is next. You couldn't play f6 because the queen was in touch with g6. Now, he gets the queen into f2, queen e1. He just steals the material.
Just missed that. You saw his response. He didn't even see queen f2, and he loses the knight, and he's feeling the pain right now.
Sorry, Alireza, I didn't see that either, but Magnus did, and that's all that's important because Magnus is currently out to a 3-point lead. This is a complete role reversal of their first match.
Yeah, we will ask Magnus to share his playlist. He'll do that at some point. We'll see if he's willing. All right, yeah, Magnus has completely turned this around. in terms of how he played earlier this week. But Firouzja still has time. If he can, we know what he's capable of. Here he goes. Some tricks here for black. Watch out for queen h4. Uh-oh, queen h4.
So black has 2 minor pieces for a rook and a pawn, but black has this knight entrenched on e3, and it's not going anywhere unless you trade off, and the next knight might be able to replace it. But Magnus fighting well, but Alireza quicker on the clock.
Yeah. But this is the kind of game Firouzja needed here. This is a turnaround. He's up on the clock. He's better on the board. This is probably the best game we've seen him play so far. We'll see if he can convert it.
He better. I mean, don't fall for any tactics. These moves for black have all been good. The knight's wheeling into e3. Yeah, this is just great play for Alireza.
Yeah, up a piece. 20 minutes on the clock. Everyone take a breath. I expect this one to be close. Collect your breath. Breathe into your diaphragm, because that sends a message from your brain that tells your body it's okay to relax. I've learned that. Like a human thing. Like anxiety.
Your brain works? Oh, I'm just kidding. Sorry, dude. I had to. I'm sorry.
That tells your brain to relax, which I need to do often for my brain, to remind it to keep working.
I feel bad now.
All right.
I've got to be honest. I feel bad.
I feel great about this. I love the role reverser here. You're hosting, you're roasting, you're doing it all. I love it.
Did you just go full Walt Clyde Frazier on me?
Hey, still got a few tricks in the bag. All right. Well, Firouzja's up a piece, but Magnus flexing that he's got a 3-game lead. He's going to get as much time off the clock as he can. Firouzja, again, winning and up seconds. I don't expect this one to go any other direction but a Firouzja win.
Yep. And
hosting
Magnus?
And roasting for the boys with that.
Magnus looked a little bit bothered by that defeat, and he was able to rebound immediately the last time around. But we'll see in this game as he goes back to what seems to be his trusty Caro-Kann.
Yeah, he's playing the Caro-Kann, but Firouzja with a better position. I think if this one goes Firouzja's way and he wins 2 games in a row for the first time today, I don't know that Magnus is going to keep going back to the Caro-Kann. Just prediction.
But this does look pretty awesome for black. I mean, the white has these terrible pawns, his bad bishop on g2. All white is going for
it was looking
now,
better.
Yeah. I've seen better bishop pairs in my life.
Yeah, some of the moves come in, chat, so fast that you can't keep up, right? Because they are literally playing at human speeds that are faster than the broadcast technology. Literally, like we can complain about it, but the reality is they're playing chess faster than we can sometimes keep up with. That's just the truth.
We should celebrate it for being incredible.
We should celebrate it. And Firouzja should celebrate this position, although I'll say this, the eval bar doesn't tell the story of how tricky this is. Magnus has 2 knights, the white king is open. I see Hess nodding along. That always feels good to this low self-esteem international master when he agrees with me. So thank you for that. Okay, but you agree, right? This is trickier for Firouzja than the eval bar says. This is a blunderable spot.
But I'm looking at the clock, and Magnus has given up.
Yeah, and the G file.
Yeah, h6, by the way, was an awesome move, because if the king took on h6, the queen would have traded on d2, and that's why Magnus took the pawn, but he lost the game, and now it's back to a closer match.
Here we go.
Alireza,
Here we go.
He scored a couple wins there, and what is this from? We're getting like a...
What? It wasn't a Bon Cloud, which I'm hoping for. Anyone who follows me on Twitter tweeted a little Bon Cloud earlier today, but bishop h5, that's an exchange. Did Magnus just miss that?
He did. But you know what's funny about that is he still has like a ton of compensation because the bishop can't move from f8, and now that you've castled queenside, maybe white can try to drum up some pressure over there.
That's a nice move, f5, forces en passant, which is you got a rook, you got to open files, and that's what Firouzja will need to flex the exchange advantage. And look at this. If a third win in a row happens and we are deadlocked at 4, call your friends. We keep saying it. It's Friday. Take off work. It's already afternoon where most of you are. So let's go.
Yep.
Join the party.
Magnus is doing his best. He's trying to play quickly and just pose a few problems. And he's going after the h7 pawn. If he could trade the king side off, that gives him better chances.
Yeah. He wants to keep the queens on the board. Get something going with an attack. I like queen e6. But look
Queen
at Firouzja.
d5. That was amazing
So
geometry.
Good. We always say retreating moves are the hardest to spot, especially with no time. Firouzja putting on a clinic here of how to convert an extra exchange in bullet. And by the way, okay, I was going to say he's not too down on the clock. He is down 4 seconds, though. Oh, Firouzja is the future. Ali freaking Firouzja has tied this match.
Yeah, he said hand down, man down. That's checkmate in the corner. And that was sweet from Firouzja. That was an excellent game. He has won 3 in a row. He hit the turkey, if you like bowling. But look at this position now. Magnus, as you said, when you've double isolated pawns, get rid of them because it opens up the space for the rest of your pieces. And both players, they're playing this very quickly. It's such a weird position.
Yeah, this is one that it's hard, like every move looks like a blunder. Does Rook C8 not win a piece? I mean, like I don't know what's going on here. Like, but the players are holding their own, especially with only 15 minutes left, and we are tied. Even with Magnus's fast start, this one is going to come down to the wire. And let's remember, fans, you have to win by 2 in the new BCC format, which I love, and make sure that it has us here to the very end.
I'm looking at the clock. Alireza is up several seconds. He's also up a pawn. This is another game that's going Alireza Firouzja's way, and he needs to not let up. Knight C5. That won a piece, I think. Oh, but that wins an exchange, so he wins the game. Magnus is tilting.
Yeah, he's frustrated. He's about to lose his 4th game in a row. We saw him kind of take a beat and take a breath and then take a swig of water, right? Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do in these online formats, Robert, is just gather yourself, right? Because there's no time to shake off the emotional effects of a bad loss. And Magnus has got to get his head right here. Alireza Firouzja has won 4 games in a row if you just joined.
And sometimes when you lose a time scramble, like Magnus did when he had a bishop and a bunch of pawns for a rook, is you start getting worried that in future time scrambles, you'll also be the slower player. So that was a huge win in that game from Alireza, not just on the scoreboard, but whoa, Magnus is giving up a piece for 2 central pawns here.
I was about to say great, then I was like, is it tilt? Magnus sacrifices a piece. From a practical perspective, you kind of like White's chances, even if the engine is saying that black is better.
But look at that move.
Uh-oh.
Leaving the tension, pinning the knight on b3. And so Magnus passed pawns. They got to start rolling. But this knight's now going to slide into e6 to stop the passed d pawn.
It's a bluff. The p-sack was a bluff. The pawns are going nowhere. Magnus Carlsen could be losing his 5th game in a row.
He needs... Danny. Oh, that was a huge blunder. He let the knights get traded. He's lost.
Yep, it's over now. And now he needs to resign and get back at it. He needs to learn the lesson that he gave Danya in the last match. Don't waste extra time.
You take on f4, take on e5. That's a winning king opponent in the game. And yeah, he needs to right the ship right now because Firouzja has suddenly been able to overtake Carlsen on the scoreboard. It's a 2-point Firouzja lead at the moment, 6-4. Magnus up 4-1.
6-4. Magnus Carlsen has lost 5 games in a row, but you're seeing why Alireza Firouzja is the only other person to win a bullet chess championship title besides Hikaru Nakamura, right? This guy, even starting slow, something woke him up, whatever it was, and he's a monster.
He is. And he's just playing principal chess right now. But the thing I like about Magnus's very bizarre opening is that he's up on time. So sometimes it's okay to play bad moves in bullet as long as you play those bad moves quickly.
Yeah. The balance of don't play so bad that you lose, but make sure you have an edge on the clock when it matters. As I like to say, the key to winning chess games is to play the best moves fast.
Whoa. There's a knight on d7. You almost never see that.
Rook d8 though? What is the deal? Knight c2, but now you lose a piece.
Oh, knight f6 check is the big threat. How do you stop that?
Magnus is, and you see him dejected there. He reacts. Knight f6 check is going to be mate with the rooks on the d file, and Firouzja is going to win his 6th game in a row. Bullet is a game of momentum more than anything else, and Firouzja is on fire right now.
This has been exceptional to witness. And Firouzja, it looked like he was shaky at the start, and he's saying, no, I was just getting warmed up. Magnus had that warm up against Danya, and now here in this match, it feels like Alireza, the worst of his chest. He got it out early. That's really good news. He needs to keep this up, though, because if Magnus gets one win, he smells blood. He's able to win several in a row.
Yeah, Greg Shahadi said it. It's been a brutal 10 minutes for Magnus Carlsen, but there is still 10 minutes left in the match. So if he can pull it together, he has time. This is still, though, looking like a lot of pressure from Firouzja. Whoa. Did he sack? Oh, it was made on G3. That was glorious. That was glorious.
It was. Yeah, that's such an easy thing to overlook. And, well, Magnus has a better pawn structure. He's playing against these doubled C pawns. But for now, Alireza has more activity until G4. What's going on here?
G4 might be a move you don't want to play, especially because he was up on the clock by a second. There was no reason to rush. Magnus getting maybe a little bit frustrated here. Whoa, he's going to trade. Look at the light square dominance. What an interesting spot to be in. Down a pawn, but potentially better in the endgame.
And it's a big problem why you've double pawned. If one pawn was in the B file, you'd be able to create a passer. And look at that move, C4. If you take, now your pawn structure is permanently awful. And now white should just go, oh, why is he allowing the king in?
Oh, he allowed king D4, but he was threatening bishop G5, but Firouzja should have taken that chance. This is actually a very dangerous game for Magnus because with time going off the clock, you're going to lose a lot of time in the overall match here. Firouzja should play on. Don't take the draw. Oh, that was a practical mistake for sure by Firouzja.
But Magnus was up 2.5 seconds. So that's why Firouzja felt compelled to take that draw. Okay. So I'm with you. That was a winning endgame, and he probably felt that it should be, but he looked at his clock, and that's what Magnus did better. He didn't play his best game, far from it. And you said this at the beginning of the show when we looked at Danya's accuracy versus Magnus's. It's not always important to play the most accurate moves, because if you're doing it slowly, you're probably going to get a flag down the stretch. And what is Magnus doing? Didn't he just drop the B5 pawn?
Yeah, he did, and he yelled at himself. He said, "Oh, come on, man!" And you could see he said it. And at least he drew the last game, so he has stopped the bleeding, quote unquote. But that was a horrible blunder. Firouzja has pushed him perhaps on tilt here.
Firouzja's a tough opponent for anybody, and he is unbeaten the last 7 games. Is there a mate? No, that eval bar was sky high, and now it's going back down, and black suddenly has play on the queen side.
Yeah, Firouzja probably missed some sort of version of a win there. That A pawn is dangerous.
Oh, but the A pawn's gone.
And Magnus might be losing it though. Okay.
Oh, is it?
Oh wait, this is just no. It's King D7, but where's the beef? Where's the mate?
They just win the material. He's up a piece right now, and Magnus is faster. Look at it. He's up 6+ seconds at the moment. Oh, and the evaluation bar is going down because you can't keep this E5 pawn. And now what black should do is take the G pawn. If you could take the G pawn, the chess.com server says you make a draw. So bishop F3. Play bishop F3.
Bishop F3, and it's a draw.
He's trying to win.
Find it.
He's trying to win. He can't.
He
more pawns.
maybe doesn't have a choice. Yeah, because of the match situation. But you can't win this game. Don't take the knight. That loses.
So he is up on
now
time.
He's really in trouble.
Well, dude, Magnus, he's going to flag him.
Firouzja put the pawn on a dark square, though. That was super smart.
Yeah.
Preventing the bishop from doing anything, but it still should be a draw.
Well, if Alireza can somehow speed Magnus, then there could be a winning chance. But no, Magnus is just going to keep his king in front of the pawn, and we are likely to see any second now. And there's the draw. 1.5. That was way closer than I thought it would be.
Yeah, but in a huge practical win for Firouzja because so much time came off the clock there. Only 6 minutes and 50 seconds left, and Magnus is facing a 3-game deficit.
Yeah, he's up the pace, has Magnus Carlsen. He knows that he needs to win and probably win quickly. He still has enough time. There's 6 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the match, so he doesn't have to go all in just yet, but he needs to get 2 games, wins for him, and not lose anymore.
Yeah, and Firouzja is just focused. I mean, he is he's not giving an inch right now.
He's not, and he's going for the good old mating pattern, King H1. What a smart move by Magnus. He also gets out of this pin, so Bishop G4 will be met by Pawn to F3.
Yep. And he goes for it, puts the knight on E4. Magnus turning it around. again, as you said, there is time, but you have to start winning. If you win this game, you've got time to win another. So don't blunder and don't panic.
Yeah, that's really good life advice in general. So everybody out there,
Don't
don't blunder, don't panic.
Don't panic.
But it's hard not to
Stoicism
panic.
of chess.
It's really difficult to like keep your composure.
Yeah.
And Magnus has been playing fast, but look at that. All of a sudden, Alireza, he's on the offensive.
I would say if there was one difference right now in the match, and I know it's not over yet, is Firouzja has just had more pressure against Magnus's king. In most positions, he's been the one attacking the king. And from a practical point of view, that has led to some blunders. Although, right as I say that, Magnus flipping the script on that, queens and knights coming after the king on g8.
Oh, look at this. He wants knight of 6. And he gets it because he cuts
d6
the queen off.
and he gets knight f6.
He put the pawn on d6 to interpose along the 6th rank. And right now, Magnus has to stop worrying about his clock. It's about the position and worry about the clock. He needs to flag Alireza here. He is up a second, but he's burning clock. Oh!
Yeah, and I wonder if he had d7 there, but he does have time. Knight h6. Oh!
Just pre-move.
d6, the pieces come off. You've got
Just
to
go.
pre-move the knight.
It doesn't matter. Just you can lose pieces. Just be faster than your opponent.
Did he blunder that knight for a second? Maybe.
He did. No, he did.
Look at that.
But that's the thing. That's the right thing to do. Like Danya has done this many times. You just give away all your pieces and just pre-move at that point, and he wins on the clock with 4 seconds to spare, and now it's just a 2-point margin.
Yep. Yeah, it's a really great point, Robert, because at a certain point you do the math. Even a pre-move loses a 0.1 second on the clock, right? That's the fastest you can play on chess.com is a 0.1 second. And so, at a certain point you do the math, and all you have to do is pre-move to flag your opponent, right?
Yeah. And also, when you take a pawn, you expect your opponent's pre-move the recapture. So your opponent, like Alireza took the pawn on b4. He expects Magnus to recapture on b4, but Magnus doesn't. So he's not anticipating that he could take this knight on c3 next, and that sort of shocks you. So I think that you just pre-move in those situations. And now Magnus, he won the last game. Look at this position, up a few seconds, dominating the queen side with control of the c file, and white is cramped. That bishop on c2 is a glorified pawn.
Yeah, and remember, you have to win by 2. So if Magnus wins one more game, he's already in that spot where if time ran out, he would still be having a fighter's chance here.
Yes, and he's got a great position right now, even material. The bishop finally gets out, and it's traded, and he wants a pass pawn. Magnus keeping the lead on the clock. Danny, this is a different Magnus than earlier in the match. He's changed his strategy to just be faster than Alireza.
Playing faster, and by the way, he's kind of playing better while playing faster. So right now, if he wins this game and we are back within 1, the route is not there. Oh, but look, wow, what a nice trick. That knight is coming into f5. That rook is running out of squares. Oh my god, he's holding the rook with the king. What a crazy position.
King c4 traps the white rook.
The rook is trapped on d3.
Okay, he gets a square on f3. It's an ugly square. But here again, Magnus just has to move. It doesn't have to be perfect chess. The evaluation may go in Alireza's favor, but just go.
Just go. He takes the knight, wins a piece. Firouzja going for tricks. But we have a 1-point match, everybody. Call Mom.
Wow.
Tell her to tune in.
Mom! The meatloaf! No.
Mom, I'm watching Twitch on chess.
Oh my goodness. It's a 1-point match. And look at this position. Both sides with doubled c-pawns. And this is a weird position, but I could see an exchange sack on d5 at some moment.
Yep. And I could see black not wanting to take it and playing c6. But okay, the rooks come off the board. b6 is played. Some doubled pawns. Only a mother could love for both players. Doubled c-pawns. This is one that almost feels like a take-a-breath game for both players, Robert. Like, all right. Match has been set. The stage has been set. Magnus shows he's not going away, and this one is probably going to end peacefully.
Probably, but as I'm looking at the clock...
Yeah, you're right.
Like, is Magnus trying to lock up the position, and then he strikes with f4? I was about to say, at the right moment strike, and then f5, and then things get a little bit complicated.
h5 becomes weak. He'll play knight g2 here, probably. Just hold on, he does. But at some point, f5 comes... Oh,
e5.
Firouzja forces the issue.
But e5 and f5. Who's getting there first?
That was a huge mistake.
Oh my gosh. And Magnus up 7 seconds, and his pass pawns are mobile, whereas his knight blocks the enemy pass pawn. This is just, the pawns are pushing up the board, and I think white is taking this game.
It's funny. The panic there by Firouzja was something we haven't really seen today, but I think he looked at the clock, didn't want Magnus to grind him, Robert. Whoa, was that a mistake? How do you break through if you're Magnus?
Knight of 6 to
Knight of
D7
6.
is queen. He goes for
Yeah,
it.
Knight of 6, but there's H2.
But Knight D7, and you get your queen with mate.
Aha. Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be a tied match.
Yeah. And look at Firouzja's like, all right. Here we go. Tied match. Less than a minute to play. We're going to overtime, boys and girls. Buckle up. It's sudden death dodgeball.
But the players better remember that, because it's easy to forget it's win by 2. And so you may get really frustrated, may get very emotional, but this is not a do or die moment. It's not going to be good for either player to lose, but your tournament run is not over if you do in fact lose this game.
Yep. What a match of momentum this has been, Robert. Magnus up 4-1. Firouzja wins 6 games in a row almost, right? Whoa. And now Magnus turning it around.
What is happening?
He might be about to win his, well, this will be his 4th game in a row if he wins this?
Yeah, he was down by 3, and now it's even, so it would be the 4th win, and he is better with the black pieces. Look at his fluidity, and the pieces all doing something, but the bishop b3, that scares you, even if it doesn't actually threaten anything.
Nice use of fluidity.
Thank you, my friend.
All right, here we go. Momentum in this match is crazy. It's funny, right as I said that Firouzja's been the one with most attacking chances, I feel like that turned around, and Magnus has been putting a little more pressure on White's king. You said he's been playing faster. That's the consistent thing that's changed. Now he's up again. Magnus Carlsen has turned this thing around, and now he's bobbing his head to music again. Firouzja needs to find it.
And, the rook's trapped too, so bishop g4 is coming.
Oh my gosh. All right. Time is out, but it's win by 2. Does Firouzja know that? He's looking at the clock.
Yeah, he does. He's locked in.
He does. And this is it. If Magnus wins this, it's over.
Oh my goodness. It's overtime. It's free chess. Don't go anywhere. This is exciting stuff. And for Magnus Carlsen, he has won 4 games in a row, but right now he's sacrificed 2 pawns at the moment. He's playing a gambit line.
Playing a gambit line. He's going for it. He wants the kill. Firouzja in a good spot, though. The king is out of the center, no longer in danger.
What is this? Knight f6 and d5? So, okay, but you said no longer in danger. The black king is worse than the white king, even though black's up a pawn. So I like Magnus' slight lead on the clock and the fact that he's no longer down material.
Yeah, and Firouzja's shaking his head. But again, even if he draws this game, he's still in the match. So Firouzja has got to gather himself, keep his focus. So this is a rook endgame, essentially, with queens. This should be a draw objectively if the best chess is played. Firouzja needs to play fast and hold on.
Wow, what a spot there by Magnus, by the way. Because queen b8 check, you can play queen e5. Like, now, Magnus, you play for a win. You're up 10 seconds. You flag your opponent.
Yeah, Firouzja has got to find a way to trick Magnus here, because Magnus is going to flag him to move on to the grand final against Nakamura. This is it. You got to change what's happening here.
This is scary territory for Alireza, but we need to keep a count on the 50 move rule. At some point, Magnus might need to play the move f5, even if it's bad, just to try to win on time. Because right now, Alireza has perfect defense. Objectively, the position is equal.
Yep. And Firouzja doing exactly what you would do in both classical and bullet to hold this game. A master class if he can hold on.
Yes.
13 seconds to make 50 moves, basically.
Okay, but now he's going for the pawn, rook f6. And if you're Magnus... that's great play from Firouzja.
Wow. The defense from Firouzja. Magnus loses his opportunity to flag him, and that might be something that comes back to haunt him if Firouzja ultimately turns it around.
Yeah, earlier in this competition, the first day of action, Anish Giri lost a match to Jose Martinez. It went to overtime. Anish was up by 1, and he couldn't secure match victory, and then Jose was able to take over. So this game here, if Alireza can win it, all of a sudden we're back to a tied match. And I have to say, the way that Magnus just played in that last game, it looked really good. It looked promising, but then you get a bit deflated that you didn't convert.
Totally agree. The psychological edge has suddenly shifted back to Firouzja here, even though he's down a game. I completely agree. If Firouzja gets this one, and he does have an edge, we've seen this match swing wildly. If you're just tuning in, where have you been? Your mom has been calling, saying, "Go watch the chess match on Twitch. It's totally lit." And now you're here. and and Firouzja.
Why did the evaluation bar go so high there? That was surprising.
There's like a rook
Oh,
C1 or
the
something.
queen was trapped after rook c1, rook
Queen was
a7. So
that's what I was just guessing, but yeah, the queen had no squares. That was nutty.
okay, but that's helpful. This again, the engine really helps us because you think it's a normal position, and suddenly with one bad move, it's winning for a side. And what is happening here? H6 fell, but it's past d pawn and open c file. Who's better?
Yeah, I kind of like Magnus's chances here, although I will say this, Firouzja has sped up. No longer the deficit on the time. Right as I say that, gotta play fast. Magnus is in a position to flag and win the match. Uh-oh.
You know what this reminds me of? That candidates game between Ding and Hikaru. Like complete chaos. One side attacking, one side with a passed pawn. And right now this pawn looks very scary. And if he gets his rook to the first rank, he can win this game. But the evaluation's still level, and Magnus up a couple seconds.
And now he's threatening rook e1. I'm freaking out. This could be the match. Could be the moment.
The b-pawn goes, but the bishop was hanging, so he had to go here, and now there's rook a7.
7 seconds to 4 seconds. Here comes f5. Oh, but the rook was coming to a1.
Yes, you got to get checks. This could be the match. And if you're Alireza, if you can get the rook off the board. Oh, he blundered it!
Oh, we got the light! No! He drew it, Magnus blew it! Oh my gosh! That was the match!
Oh my gosh, I was about to finish my sentence. And if he can get the rook, it clears the way to a draw. And Alireza, he is faster when they just have a couple seconds on the clock, and that is why he's still alive.
I feel like Magnus panicked there. Didn't he have time not to lose the rook? Or no,
Yeah.
Firouzja had gotten the edge on the clock. My God.
Oh, my goodness.
Firouzja,
What's Firouzja doing? Why did you spend all that time there?
I was going to say, Firouzja fighting for his life, but yeah, mismanaging the clock here, down by 10 whole seconds. That's like a piece and bullet, although that rook might be a trap piece if you're not careful.
But look at this. He gives up the exchange to win 2 pawns and have a rook on the 7th rank. Magnus, he sniffed this out from a while back.
Yeah, that was sneaky. The
And now
only
he
thing I'll
takes
say
the
is that rooks, dude, if rooks get going though in bullet, that's the only thing I'll say.
Ugh. But look
Look
at
at those
pawns.
passers.
Can you check and play g6?
Jack play g6 or just put the bishop on d3 and get it out of the way. Push him. Yeah, he does it. I like that. Push him, baby.
Yep.
But Firouzja holding on.
But the lead on the clock for Magnus, I think that might even be the worst part of this. Not only are there 2 passed pawns supported by a bishop, and then the king. Whoa, he
10
resigned?
seconds early, and Firouzja leans back, and Magnus is celebrating. He knows he's going to take it.
Oh my gosh.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Magnus moves on to the grand final, and he's dancing into a matchup against Hikaru Nakamura.
Wow. It came to a close so fast. And Magnus Carlsen, talking to whoever from our team, is enjoying the victory, enjoys the water. What a crazy turnaround. What a crazy swinging wild ride that was for Alireza Firouzja. At one point, he had a 3-game lead. He can't hold on, and he takes 3rd place.
I feel for him. Look at him. He's so confused about what just happened. He was winning that match. He had won 5 games in a row. And Magnus Carlsen, no longer the world champion in classical chess, but the world rapid and world blitz champion, and now wants to add the bullet chess champion to his list of world titles. So, Danny, that was one of the matches that you dreamed to have. It's a privilege to witness and have the call for it. And Magnus Carlsen, he barely squeaks by Alireza Firouzja in overtime. And I just have to say one more time for Alireza, I feel for him. He played so well throughout the match.
You feel for him. Firouzja's got 40,000 fans watching between YouTube and Twitch. People are here on a Friday. This is awesome, though. I mean, you gotta applaud Firouzja's effort there. And again, felt like he had it, but what a crazy match that was. It was a real wild swing for both players, but it shows what momentum can do for you. And Magnus takes it by 2 games in overtime.
What a match that was. And for Magnus, it's already been 2 great match victories, and his day is not done, because with that win over Alireza Firouzja, Magnus goes up. He levitates to the grand final against Hikaru Nakamura. So, Danny, I mean, that was a great match. We're wowed by it, but we got to talk about what's about to happen.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess this is the match that most people want to see. Whenever these 2 guys throw down, the internet tends to stop and tune in. the world tends to stop and tune in when Nakamura goes up against Carlsen. I'm going to say, I think Hikaru's the favorite here. Again, not just because he's won a whole bunch of these events, but Hikaru sent Firouzja to the losers bracket for a reason, right? Won that match by 4 games in the end. And Magnus is going to have to, once again, he had to up his game, moving from Danya to Alireza. He's going to need to up his game again, moving from Alireza to Nakamura if he's going to have a chance here.
Well, I'm not sure if it's good news for Magnus or not, but they upped the time limit, 45 minutes rather than 30 minutes a bullet when you get back into the grand final. So that is going to be on the flip side of the break. But before we do go to break and hopefully get an interview, just want to shout out that if you've been wanting to try out chess.com premium features before committing to a membership, now is the time. In honor of yesterday's International Chess Day, cash in on 30 days premium for free. Enjoy a full month of unlimited puzzles, lessons, game review, and more. This offer ends on July 27th, so don't miss your chance. Use the command CLAIM in chat to unlock 30 days of premium now. Danny, we just saw some great chess. Hopefully people get access to great features. We will not have an interview, but when we return, it's Hikaru, it's Magnus, it's the matchup that the people want and the people are going to get. Be right back.
What's the best way to follow any chess event from the Champions Chess Tour to the Candidates, Speed Chess Championship, Title Tuesday, FIDE World Championship, and so much more? Chess.com/events has all of the top chess tournaments played both over the board and online. Analyze and review games from the world's greatest players with live commentary, cloud analysis, Opening Explorer, and table bases. Find all the key event information, including schedules, prizes, results, news reports, player bios, tie breaks, and more. Even compete by voting for your predicted results. Explore chess.com/events today on web or with our iOS and Android apps and experience chess like never before.
Your subscription makes shows like this possible, which is why our Twitch subscribers will never see ads on chess.com. Connect your chess.com account and Twitch account at go.chess.com/connect accounts, and bang, boom, voila, you're done. 100% ad-free bliss forevermore. Whether you're following our events on site or on stream, type the command connect in the chat, and thank you for helping bring these shows to life.
Oh, 97, he played.
97, he misses the fork.
He's good, man. He's good.
He can take on D5 with check, and the problem is now he has no mating attack. He's got to turn the game around. He's just giving up his bishop, and he's giving up.
What's going on here?
Double captured, and he's getting mated. He's thinking about winning when he's losing, and then he's going to demoralize you when he does that.
Andrew quickly winning a couple games in a row. That is really important for him. Oh my gosh! He allowed a checkmate as soon as I said winning a couple games.
He gets it done again. Just reminds us, Robert, why he's on top of the bullet world.
You heard Maurice Ashley say it. He demoralizes you because even when he's in trouble, he still gets the job done and wins. He's Hikaru Nakamura, and he's a man on a mission. And Danny, he's been unbelievable thus far in the BCC.
He sure has. And obviously, Magnus Carlsen has been unbelievable today, but now he's running up against the guy who is unbelievable every day in Bullet. And this guy's margin of victory speaks for itself. There's a reason he's the one waiting in the grand final. And we'll see what Magnus is capable of against the king of Bullet here. And I'm ready.
Hey, if you can't miss when you're going after the king, right? The Wire, they taught us that. And for Magnus Carlsen, he's been the king of chess for so long. But when it comes to Bullet, I mean, Hikaru is just a beast. He's a 3-time champ in this event. He also has been just absolutely dominant throughout this year's Bullet Chess Championship. So it's just so impressive.
Yeah, and obviously he's been watching Magnus today, so I think the one thing Magnus has going for him is, in terms of most recent memory, Magnus just beat Danya, he just beat Alireza Firouzja. There's momentum, obviously, on his side of the court here, and if Magnus can get off to a good start and keep that momentum going, maybe that pushes Hikaru off his form, right? So I think that really the beginning of this match is huge for Magnus and for Hikaru to show, hey, I don't have any rust. I know Magnus has been playing, but I'm ready to start off on the right track.
Yeah, Magnus has been playing, and pretty much everything he's played in recently has been a great success. We have some highlights from Magnus's recent success at the Aim Chess Rapid. Take a look.
So we did everything right, but not anymore.
He blundered his knight.
And this is how it's done.
I was worried about rook f4. What's happening here? Oh my gosh. King g5. And he found it. Oh my god, Norbrook's in trouble. Magnus knows it. He just gave you the Magnus like nod.
Oh, look at that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's losing
right here.
Wow. And Norderbeck loses on the clock.
And they're finishing it off in style.
And Magnus takes it because it gets him the match victory. What a match performance this has been by the world number one.
Oh, hello.
And now just seconds on the clock, and Wesley down there for 3 seconds walks into a pin. Wow. Magnus Carlsen with the black pieces delivers checkmate. Oh my god, and we have a winner. Magnus Carlsen checkmates Wesley So and wins the Aim Chess Rapid.
Magnus Carlsen wins. That is a sentence that we hear very often. The 5-time FIDE Classical World Champion. He gave away his title. He didn't even play. Ding Liren became the new world champion. But Magnus, he's the reigning champion in the World Rapid, the World Blitz, but it's his first foray into the Bullet Chess Championship. And Danny, he's going right into the jungle, into the Lion's Den, where he's going to face off against Hikaru Nakamura.
Well, you see all those titles there. This isn't officially a Bullet World Championship because we're not allowed to call it that. But if you want to call it a Bullet Global Championship, you can call it that. It's basically, this is who the best Bullet chess player in the world is, and Magnus Carlsen has a lot of titles. He doesn't have this one. Bullet is an online game, right? And that's the reality, right? If you try to play Bullet without increment over the board, other things happen, right? So this is it. This is Magnus Carlsen versus Hikaru Nakamura, who is the best Bullet player on the planet. And I think he wants this title, and we'll see. Remember, he has to beat Hikaru twice, right? Because Hikaru is the one waiting. So you got to win, and then you got to win again in overtime. And we know what these two guys are capable of as far as bringing the fans in. We see viewership going up at the break. Robert, that's how you know we're in for a treat. People are like, stop what you're doing. Morpheus is fighting Neo. Let's go.
Do you remember the Speed Chess Championship between these two? It went down to the wire. Magnus won the last game, but he was still 1 point behind. This is a win by 2 format. So if the time elapses and you're within a point, hey, the match continues, and as you said, Magnus has to beat Hikaru twice. He needs to win the 45 minutes in the grand final. Then if he wins that, he needs to win 30 minutes of the reset. So that's going to be a tough task. You're playing Hikaru Nakamura. He is such a monster. He's a 3-time champ of this event. And so far, Hikaru's been seemingly unstoppable. And you look throughout his bullet career on chess.com, peak rating 3570. But what's I think most interesting for me, Danny, look at how rarely Hikaru wins by flag, but that might just be because his opponents resign.
Yeah, that's an interesting stat. I don't even know what to make of that, because you would think he's just as good at flagging people as someone like Danya and has played enough games to think that stat might be higher. But yeah, maybe it's the Hikaru factor. Maybe people resign when they're losing and he's so fast that they just see there's no chance. So obviously you see 12,000 games, way more than Magnus, but not as much as Danya Naroditsky, who played 30,000 games. And the accuracy is so close between these two guys. So what else can you say, right? It's a coin flip in many respects. I think we both agree Hikaru might be the slight favorite, but I also think that I speak for a lot of fans and that I wouldn't be upset if we got a second round, right? If Magnus Carlsen won the first and we get more chess, because who wants this thing to end? This is amazing. It's so much fun.
Nobody wants it to end except for Hikaru. He would like to end it in the first match. And I just want to say, a day ago, if you asked me to make a prediction, I would say that Hikaru was a sizable favorite. Barcelona Magnus, much worse than Norway Magnus. The Magnus that we saw today, I mean, that's phenomenal form. He beat Danya, and it was convincing in the end, and Danya had high praise for Magnus. Then Magnus goes on to lose like 6 games in a row. I can't even remember. It was happening so fast. In my memory, I'm like a goldfish. I'm like Ted Lasso taught me to be. I cannot remember what just happened, but I do remember that Alireza was just blitzing Magnus, winning all these games, and the Magnus still won the match. Can you remember a match where someone lost so many games in a row and still won?
I was just going to say that. I think that in some ways that almost plays in Magnus's favor, that he had his back against the wall and survived, right? Almost even better, Robert, than if he had beaten Alireza in a dominant fashion, because we know that you got to take your punches when it comes to facing Hikaru. You know he's going to land a few, right? Hikaru Nakamura is going to land some punches because he's damn good at what he does. And the fact that Magnus is now a little more battle-tested and survived that 3-game deficit to Firouzja, if you're just tuning in, I think that makes him even more dangerous here against Hikaru. And 45 minutes means there's even more time to kind of recover from a slide if you have one.
And for Hikaru, he could have been prepping, as you see Magnus on the screen in front of you. And a big question is, was that warm-up helpful, or is Magnus potentially tired now? And for Hikaru, was resting good for him, or was he not getting into the form that he needs to be? Maybe he'll be slow at the gate. What do you think, Danny, about this upcoming final?
I mean, I think you're asking the right questions, right? I think that'll be what we see. Is Hikaru rusty and Magnus on a roll? Here's what I do think. I think the 45-minute extra time we have for the final, which is a pretty cool thing, I'm glad that we did that, means that either way, Robert, the best bullet chess is going to win in the end. I think that we might see some rust from Hikaru. You might see Magnus maybe stumble a little bit, but he'll have enough time to recover and get himself refocused. Although, as I say that now, I'm like, as the day goes on, does momentum become exhaustion, right? And that's the risk for Magnus Carlsen, is he has to win twice, and he's already won 2 matches today. Can he keep it going?
As you said, he needs to win twice. If he does win the 45-minute match, it resets, and then it's 30 minutes of bullet chess. The winner is crowned the 2023 bullet chess champion. They have $20,000, and whoever loses this match still walks away with 16 grand. Not a bad prize fund at all. $100,000 in total prizes across the bullet chess championship. I'm just excited for them to start. I'm going to be real. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I love you, Danny. Yeah. We're super close friends. I just want to watch them play.
Hey, I'm with you. You know what? No more talk. A little more action. Let's go. By the way, speaking of action, chat voted, and it's even closer than the other two, as it should be. 52% of you say Hikaru Nakamura is the favorite heading into this match. Again, that's about as close as it can get to a 50-50 split. So here we go. Hikaru Nakamura, Magnus Carlsen. God, those words feel good.
It certainly do. And what is this mainline stuff? Why are they playing a long theoretical variation where they barely spent any time and we're on move 21 and they're trading off all the pieces?
Yeah, maybe a little bit of nerves. Maybe neither side wanted to play too risk it for the biscuit chess out of the gate. And Now Hikaru a little worried about his back rank. That makes sense.
And this is seeing more pieces get traded.
And also from a time perspective, they played so fast that neither player should really get in the kind of time pressure that leads to blunders. Although now things going a little bit White's direction. Hikaru accepts the rook ending.
And interesting, he offered a trade, but Magnus doesn't want to trade because the white king is close to the center. This is actually instructive stuff. You don't say that often in Bullet, but instructive to know he didn't trade because the white king was more active.
Well, when two heavyweights meet, sometimes there's a lot of footwork before you see any real punches landed, and that game was an example of that. Just some footwork, both guys kind of being like, all right, I'm where I want to be in the grand final versus, objectively maybe the best opponent I could be facing. I think they both feel that way, and a draw starts things off.
And now we get a Benoni structure from Black's point of view, but the knight comes into d4, and Hikaru quickly, what? Queen b6 met by knight f5, a sacrifice.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bluff according to the computer, but it doesn't matter because in Bullet, can you calculate everything? Hikaru laughs in the face of danger at the knight and takes e4 cold-hearted.
But
wow,
there's no mate against this king. It feels so open.
Yeah, Magnus's attack is raging on. Hikaru way down on the clock here, by the way.
Yeah, good call. So what's happening here? Black has two minor pieces.
Every piece is hanging. And apparently that's no good because queen f6 at the end, I think.
Oh no. But f6.
Oh, he finds f6. The queen is under fire.
Yeah. So now this queen's under attack and the rook in the corner. A white's king is safer between the two, but black is up a full piece.
Dude, these guys' ability to just stare down the barrel of insanity is what separates them, right? I mean, I said cold-hearted. Really, it's cold-blooded. Hikaru's ability to navigate those tactics and parry those threats, Robert.
Good try by Magnus, though. But this queen on c1 covers the g5 square, which is very important right there. The queen would have went up to g5 with a perpetual. Instead, the queen on c1 covers. The king escapes. Hikaru Nakamura should take this game.
Yeah, he's finding a way to get surgical against that white king, but Magnus holding on. Is there a perpetual now?
And Hikaru needs to be careful because if Magnus was queen c6 check, he can't pre-move. He would lose his queen. That's a draw by repetition.
Yeah. Is it? Hikaru shakes his head, couldn't find a way out of the checks. Magnus snatches a draw from the jaws of defeat there.
And
wow.
Yeah, Hikaru's probably a bit unhappy about that. He was up major material. But Magnus, he's showing off the mouse speed now. He is improving. I think the more games he plays, the faster he gets in crunch time.
Yeah, he's keeping up the speed. That's been the one thing you wonder if he was going to be able to do. He did it with Danya, did it with Alireza. Will he maintain speed against Hikaru? This game he's down 5 seconds. And Hikaru also looking pretty good. Did he just win the exchange for free? I think he did. That's easy money.
He's up a pawn right now, and he's pushing his pawns. And this is a knight and bishop. This just doesn't look good for black. But if anyone can weasel their way out, it feels like Magnus. He's good at these endgames.
E3 and C4. Yeah, sorry, it wasn't an exchange. It was a pawn. I was hallucinating there. But ultimately, white is still just much better. And the fact that Hikaru is also up, 14 seconds on the clock? Mm-hmm. In fact, Magnus just resigns. And just like that, we have our first decisive game of the match. Hikaru Nakamura with a 1-game lead.
Yeah, Magnus says, I cannot look at that position anymore. You outplayed me. Good work. And now it's back to the drawing board. And the openings, I feel like we haven't seen anything of note thus far. They're dabbling in different lines. But you know, sometimes we know we're going to get a Berlin match or we're going to see one side out-prep the other. It's just a bunch of jockeying right now.
Agreed, but I will say the one thing we also haven't seen is sometimes Hikaru will play I'll call them the dubious Hikaru specials, right? Where he'll play the B3 stuff or play the openings he knows objectively aren't great because he's so comfortable with them and he knows he can outplay people anyway. I don't think he's messing around with kind of dubious openings against Magnus, Robert. I think that's one thing we've seen. Although
that was a mistake from Magnus. Apparently it was almost winning for him, and now suddenly black is the side for choice. Black has the bishop pair and isn't losing material. Please take me, says Magnus. I want to hit both your rooks. And Hikaru says, absolutely not.
How do you play chess like that with no time? I don't know. I'm speechless.
Magnus, for like the 5th time today, has sacrificed an exchange in a great way. Like, look at this position. He has a bishop and 2 pawns for a rook. He also has the healthier king. His connect 4. I win.
Well, I'll say the other thing he has is an edge on the clock for the first time, although right as we say that, he blunders. Is there some sort of mate?
It's mate.
G5 is coming and it's mate. Hikaru has to sack.
And then his pawn should go. Just push the F pawn. E5. Oh, but then there's... Yeah, he gets behind the pawn first, and then he chases it down. That was well played. Good technique. 5 extra seconds on the clock for Magnus.
Yeah, Hikaru takes one of the pawns, but it's not enough. Freddy's going to get frisky on the F-file, and Magnus is going to level things up in this game unless something wild happens. He also has a huge edge on the clock, which I think was maybe the biggest turnaround of all, Robert, in this game. Magnus was leading on the clock wire to wire.
Did you see that? Magnus went king e3. He gave up his pawn, so it was objectively a bad move, but he's playing faster, and Hikaru expected the pawn to push, so he pre-moved his rook up, and that's why Magnus was able to steal that rook and the game. So it's 2-2, and that means we are level once more, just like at the start. And look, again, they're playing a quiet line, almost as if they're playing each other in a classical match.
Yeah, agreed. This is high-level opening chess, quiet lines, and... there's 40 now, just under 40 minutes on the clock, so we got a lot of chess here. We've got 55,000 of you tuning in across all platforms. Don't go anywhere. The fun has just begun on this Friday. I don't know if we're going to get overtime chess, but we're going to get an epic clash no matter what.
Well, Hikaru is going to get a pawn up advantage because he just stole one of those double isolated pawns in the center, but White's pawn structure not healthy, but who cares how healthy it is when you're up 2 of them?
Yeah. A couple of doubled but past e-pawns feels good. Hikaru rebounding here from that loss he just had. And by the way, again, look at the edge of the clock. This has been an interesting match so far, Robert. It feels like the decisive games, at least, I know we had a couple draws, the decisive games have been very one-sided, right? Like one player's not just winning on the board, they're dominating on the clock, and the other guy has to go back to the drawing board. Magnus just resigns.
Yeah, you're right. 100% right. And also they're switching off who has the lead on the clock. In some earlier matches, one player always jets out to a huge time advantage, and then the other player catches up. Here, they're trading off victories, they're trading off time advantages, and they're also switching up their openings. I mean, Magnus, he did play this style in the game that he won 2 ago, and Hikaru says, if you're going to go for this again, I'm ready, and I'm stealing a pawn in the center.
Yeah, agreed. By the way, that vote I had earlier, there were 5,000 votes from the YouTube chat, which was 52% Hikaru Nakamura. But then we have several thousand from Twitch, and it's 58% Hikaru Nakamura. So interesting, both Twitch and YouTube slightly favoring Hikaru in this match, and Hikaru, again, to be favored in this position.
Yeah, because Rook D5 was such a superb move there by Hikaru. And Magnus, he's only down 1 pawn, and he's trading off queenside pawns. If he can trade off the remaining queenside pawns, he has a draw. But Hikaru, he's too smart to do that. He brings his king in, and that should be that when his king and rook pressure the C2 pawn.
Yeah, although Magnus still making it tricky. This was awkward. This is awkward. Okay, can you just take G2? No, because C4 check would have won the rook. That's right. Wow, what a weird turnaround there. Here comes Magnus with a C pawn.
And the clock is even, which means that mistakes might happen. But the B pawn, they're both queening, but you win the house for black here. And that means that Hikaru has the upper hand, and I think we'll see our first 2-point margin.
Yeah, Hikaru nods. That was Hikaru Nakamura number 3. That's the confident nod, followed by the duck lips. Clip it and ship it, everybody. The first Hikaru Nakamura facial expression we can easily catalog. Like this. He likes it. He likes it.
Oh, Danny, I miss commentating with you, so I'm glad we got the Hikaru facial reader with us today. But Hikaru is a beast. I think no matter what his face tells us, his play tells us that he is just desperate to win this event. Not because he's not the better player, but just because he really wants this title. Uh-oh.
Yep. Oh, and something happened there. There was a blunder. Was knight f4 check possible for Magnus?
I think first.
No, because
before he brought the queen.
Okay. Knight f4 and then queen in, and you win the knight with check. Okay. Magnus misplays that. You can't miss opportunities like that against Hikaru. As we said, he's the king when it comes to this format, and you don't get many chances to swing at him. So Magnus missed an opportunity there. We're, of course, lucky because we have the eval bar. I mean, again, no shame in saying that. That's the truth. But yeah, if this one ends in a draw, Hikaru maintains his 2-game lead.
And And it's very even, but Hikaru is up a few seconds. So black is more active pieces, but Hikaru has more time with white. And this bishop now is terrible. It's locked in here. That might have been a bad decision, but the knight also is stuck. Both pieces can't move.
Yeah. What is going on with this position you've got? Okay, I think Hikaru just settles on the... Oh, okay, yeah, that's literally a draw for as well. That was funny. It was mutual trappage.
This takes me back to Hikaru on ICC beating the bots. He would get positions just like this, close it down, and then flag the bots. But here, Magnus was repeating enough times. We see a little smile there, and a draw is a fair result, but a good one for Hikaru, keeps his lead.
Yep. It's funny because I think a lot of people just don't appreciate some of these skills Hikaru has. These aren't accidental. These were trained. We always joke Hikaru was raised on ICC, right? And he was a human who was beating bots when bots were first entering the online chess servers, and he figured out strategies to beat computers, which is really mind blowing when you think about it. And that's one of the reasons he is so resourceful, so pesky and tricky on the online formats.
And this position, I have to say, at first glance, it looks really good for white. The black king feels less safe than the white king, and the bishop is out, but the king slid to the corner, and now the black king is being hunted.
Yeah. Magnus wants a victory. He needs to turn it around, bring it back within a game. Looks like he's on pace. Hikaru gives the head shake. Not over yet, but Magnus should get this one. Black's king is wide open. You just got to figure out a way to break through if you're Magnus.
Yeah, queen d5, queen d7 looks like a good way to do just that. And, can you take it? He does, and bring the queen in. Yeah. I think white can bring the queen to f7 and then push this pawn.
Yeah. Hikaru trying to make things... Oh, you got queen g1, c1 queen. Outside chance of perpetual.
Oh, the queen! Queen f7. Take it!
Oh.
I take the second time.
He sees it the second time. That's pretty funny.
Oh gosh, he waves his hand.
Oh,
like, what was I doing?
By the way, Hikaru streaming, of course. You saw that delayed reaction. That was pretty funny. He goes, "Oh, didn't see the queen."
And it's a 1-point match once again, Danny. And Hikaru going to again one of these quiet positions. So these two have been engaging in combat in the endgame.
Yeah, Botez Gambit declined. I love that. Botez Gambit declined. The very rarely cited Botez Gambit declined there. But okay, if Magnus wins this one, Robert, then we will be level with 30 minutes like a regular match, right? Remember, we had 45 minutes to start this final, so we get extra chess between these two guys, which is great. But if Magnus wins, it basically is a wash, and we're back to 30 minutes with a tied match.
What is happening? The eval bar is doing push-ups over there, going up and down, and it seems like there's an incredible amount of tension. What is?
Yeah. How does this survive for Hikaru? The king's getting checked, but there's no rookie 3. I'm like, looks like piece. Okay, rookie 3 comes.
He takes the rook,
and it's Hikaru who's on the prowl.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And the H pawn is running. Harry for the win. And by the way, a flex on the clock in this game by Hikaru. Look at that. That is a massive time advantage for Bullet.
And bishop e4 was a great move there by Hikaru. He knew to trade pieces off because their ensuing endgame would be so nice for him. He gets that win. And I think Magnus was blinded both by the sunlight and by Hikaru's great moves.
Yeah. Magnus needs to get a little help with the curtains and get a little help on the board right now with Hikaru Nakamura taking a 2-game lead as we reach the 30-minute mark. And he's on form. I guess he's answering the question that he isn't rusty, despite having watched Magnus for the last 2 hours. He's ready to now play Magnus.
And did you make an unintentional Greg Shahade ICC reference by talking about curtains?
If you want to throw back to ICC usernames, we can do some trivia, which is fun. Shout out to Hawkeye. We miss that guy. Yeah. Anyway, curtains.
This looks pretty nice for black. There's a great light square bishop for one side and a not so great light square bishop for the other. And the black king is also more active.
Yeah, black king finds the nice e5 square, even though, he goes for the bishop ending. Not a position that white should be able to win, especially when you're the one down 6 seconds on the clock. So Hikaru continuing do what he does in bullet. A lot of time left, though. We got tons of time.
Oh, he's trying to trick him. I was like, how could you give this
Yeah.
access point? But there's bishop a2 check, and
Bishop
the bishop on
A2.
e6 would have been lost.
Skewer. These guys are full of tricks. Silly rabbits. Tricks are for kids, although not in bullet chess. Tricks are for everyone in bullet.
This bishop is on the best possible square. It's keeping the king out of both directions, but that was smart by Hikaru. He trades some pawns. The 50-move rule starts once again, and unless Magnus can take both these pawns, he is going to lose this game on the clock.
Yeah. Hikaru flexing the time, what you got to do. Yeah, I wonder how good these guys are in bullet compared to my accuracy score in classical chess. If I had to guess, they're better at bullet than I am at classical chess. Just saying. Like, this is insane.
And look at Magnus. What Hikaru's going to do is put his bishop on on g6 at some point, and he's going to take the bishop, and then Magnus just needs to keep hitting
he
with the
did
corner.
it. And the pre-move for the win. Just as long as you don't accidentally stalemate or repeat a position 3 times, Magnus shakes his head, knows that Hikaru got the better of the meta bullet game there.
And that's the third time that Hikaru has done that. He beat Alireza Firouzja twice in that same exact endgame with bishop and wrong corner for the rook pawn. And now Hikaru has built his lead up, and in addition to his 3-point lead, he's got a really nice position in this game with the uncompromised pawn structure on the king side for white and black's king side in shambles.
Yeah, and now you see the difference in body language. Hikaru with the head bob, feeling that ABBA. Dancing Queen. Only 17. Okay, that's what he's listening to, by the way. Hikaru just on the prowl right now, dude. Look at this.
Yeah, white's up a piece.
Up a piece. About to go up 4 games in the match. Up 4 seconds on the clock. Magnus no longer bobbing his head to T Swift. Someone needs to change the momentum for Mr. Carlsen.
The only good news that I can think of for Magnus is he lost 6 games in a row against Alireza, and he still won the match. Hikaru is next level, right? That is the final boss. But he has lost a series of games, then was able to go on a winning streak of his own. So that at least should give him some confidence in the back of his mind.
Yeah, agreed. That's the point we were making at the start of the match, is that because Magnus was down against Alireza and came back, that has to pay dividends here, at least from a psychological perspective. If you didn't see that match, Magnus was down 3 games, Robert, with 5 minutes to go. Like, yes, he was winning the game to make it 2, but that was impressive. And he ended up really turning it around. So Magnus is not going to go quietly into the night here.
No, of course not. He always is a fighter. And now we're getting to endgame. And Hikaru's actually been outplaying Magnus in many of these endgames. He's aided by the clock. He has a slight lead in this game as well. But look at the piece placement. He goes for c5.
Yep. And Hikaru is just feeling it. He's really flexing it right now. Enjoying the tune. I don't know. Maybe that isn't ABBA, because that doesn't look like a dancing queen beat.
No, it looks, I wonder what he's listening to. I was going to just throw out a random musician, but I will ask him when it's done. He's probably not listening to anything.
All right.
Just the beat of his moves.
Yeah, again,
Oh,
the
gosh,
creepy
what
thing
is-
would be that he's not listening to any music. Oh my god, and Magnus blunders a piece. Hikaru maybe going to take another one. And, we asked a question, would Hikaru be rusty? Because Magnus is the one who played 2 matches, Robert. But the other flip side was, will Magnus's momentum turn into exhaustion? And if this one gets away from him, I think at this point it just might be that kind of ran out of steam here against the final boss, as you said.
Unreal play thus far from Hikaru. He's fast. He's playing very accurately, and he's getting to the end games where he can play for 2 results, as we say in classical chess. He knows that if Magnus plays super quickly, he might hold a draw, but otherwise Hikaru can use the clock as the main weapon.
According to one of our mods, Hikaru was listening to some Bollywood hits. By the way, if you haven't seen RRR, fantastic film. Sorry, back to the chess.
Don't apologize. I just watched it the other night. Everyone wants to be Beam out there.
Anyway, okay, we can't turn this into a movie podcast. All right, so staying on the chess here, Hikaru parries what was a lot of pressure, but Magnus still has an edge with the bishop pair. So, also, the biggest note is that he's not that down on the clock, right? It's very close. I think that's huge for Magnus to keep the speed up.
Yeah, and look at this endgame. It is even material, 2 bishops against bishop-knight pair, and Magnus should be better, but I'm not sure he trusts himself, that he might even look at this position, one that in the back of his head he wants to win, but at the same time he's like, I don't want to lose on time.
Yeah. You don't want to lose on time, but you also don't want to lose on the board. At this point, I don't think Magnus is in danger of losing on the board, but can he create enough for a win? You got to start racking up some dubs here, down by 5.
And the pawns trading off is really good news for the knight, right? The knight is a slow-moving piece. The bishops, they look across the board in a better way. E5 is dropping, but then A3 would be captured. So Magnus desperately clinging on to both of his pawns.
Yeah, he's trying to create some sort of swindle. He does manage to steal one, but Hikaru... Wait, okay. There's some chances to win here, and time is even enough that Magnus could convert this. No,
I think what Magnus could have done was take this pawn. He could have bishop e6 and took it. I'm worried about him getting flagged, and he takes the pawn right now.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. There you go. A draw. Apparently, Hikaru has crossed lines that very few should venture into. He's listening to Nickelback.
Whoa. Look at this photograph, Danny. Every time I do, it makes me laugh.
Although, I will say, why does Nickelback get so much hate? What is the deal with Nickelback getting all the hate?
I don't know. But the answer that we all want is like, what was on Joey's head? Can you get that?
what the hell was on Joey's head? This is where I grew up, you know? I grew up watching these two in some ways online. Not really. I'm an old man, but
that's how I grew up.
There are some people growing up watching these guys.
It's true. And as we get back to the chess, white is up a pawn. So Magnus needs to show that Magnus technique, and he brings his king all the way up, but he's dropping pawns, and I'm worried about him losing another game.
Yeah, the knight is just so pesky there. The king is in a danger zone for sure. There are mating net possibilities. Although, look at the aggression. I like this f5. If we're traded into the rook ending, well, Hikaru's fine. Sorry.
Yeah.
He does well. Hikaru's actually doing fine.
I mean, Magnus needs to be reminded of who he really is, you know? He's going to the end game.
Yeah, it needs to be reminded of who he really is.
Can you take on
By the way,
D7?
I think Hikaru can just take on D7 and he doesn't realize it.
Yeah.
Take on D7 and King D8 and it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Now he stops to calculate. I think he's not... Wait, what happened?
Yeah. No, he realized that he was winning because he's on a delay because he's streaming. So he's like, I could have just captured his rook and won the endgame.
Oh, it was perpetual. Okay, I didn't realize that it was a draw. Yeah, but he just realized he was winning if he had traded rooks.
Oh, this looks really bad for Hikaru, though. Like, I know Hikaru sometimes plays some dodgy stuff, but handing your opponent the light squares in front of your king feels like a bad idea usually.
Hikaru is... he couldn't make it as a wise man. Maybe he'll make it as a poor man stealing, although right now Magnus is going to steal one.
Danny,
that game reminds us of who Magnus Carlsen is. This is how you remind us, Magnus, of who you really are.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to keep going in this Nickelback direction. I can. I can if you want.
We can force it all day. I wonder if one day we'll confess how many times you and I have played the game where we were sneaking words on the show. Because our producers don't want to know that. But every once in a while, talent has to, we won't go there. But every once in a while, we have fun.
I mean, Danny, come on. Let's be real. Someday, somehow, I'm going to make it all right, but not right now. Okay, well, Magnus needs to make it all right now because he's down a lot in the match, but he's better in this position because he's going right after Hikaru's king.
Yeah, he is. Although he's still down 5 games.
Oh,
so I feel like he just won. Didn't that make it 4? Maybe I missed something.
Well, I think we missed a lot because we were singing.
We were, stuck in Nickelback references, which is, never go full Nickelback, as they say.
I agree with that chat that Hikaru is so good. He's been playing amazing chess. But in this game, look at Hikaru's king. It's wide open, and Magnus isn't even down any material for this attack.
Yeah, Magnus is rolling here, and it is a 4-game. It is a 4-game. I'm glad that even when I lose my focus, full Nickelback, I was on top of the score there. Magnus should bring this to 3 games unless something crazy happens. Although I'm not going to doubt those knights. This is okay. He's doing a good job cleaning up the tactics. No more forks. Push him, baby. And Magnus brings us to
He's
3
slow.
games here.
No, Magnus is slow right now. He's down to 6 seconds.
Really?
He
Oh,
should
yeah.
get this done, but he's playing very slowly.
Yeah, Hikaru is pre-moving the bleep out of this.
Okay, but that was
3
good.
seconds.
That was
Okay.
really nice by Magnus there. To push his F pawn, get his king involved, and not fall
Yep.
for a fork. So Magnus, it's back to 3
Yep.
points. He's feeling better. You can see it on his face. But Hikaru still has a healthy lead in the match.
18 minutes to go. Remember, we had 45 minutes to start, which ultimately is huge for Magnus, because at this point, if it was 30 minutes, probably would be down and out, right? So this is exactly what we wanted to see, the most chess possible between these two guys in a final. And Magnus is turning the momentum around.
Yeah, I mean, Magnus is asking, could you say goodbye to yesterday? Because if today was your last day, you got to win this bullet championship.
Stop. you are shameless. You're shameless.
Well, back to the bullet here. It looks like Magnus with the black pieces. He's much better because his king is safer and he's going after Hikaru's pawns.
Yeah, and if 8-2 falls, this is one of those positions that it's hard to lose as black. That's the other problem, is that Magnus is up on the clock and there aren't any tricks, right? Sometimes you're losing, but there's weirdness to come. There's knight forks, there's king safety. In this position, the game is a pretty easy one for black to play.
Yeah, you're up a pawn and a clear action one. He goes bishop c8. He wants the outermost pawn. Bring the king over to e8 and play bishop d8. I think that's... Oh, he gave up the a pawn for the d pawn, but that was a surprising decision.
Yeah. I don't know that improves his winning chances. So right as I say that, maybe Hikaru is in a position to hold this. That would be unfortunate for Magnus for his momentum to come to a screeching halt. And by the way, Hikaru up enough on the clock that this could get dangerous.
Yes, it really could. And now you see both players scrambling at the moment. And look at that defense from Hikaru. He plants his bishop in front of the pawn. And now he's the one with the active king and a passer of his own.
Yep. Whoa,
Oh my gosh.
What is going on there? Queen ending invited. 7 seconds for Magnus, 10 for Hikaru.
Magnus wants to trade queens, but not at that point. No, he didn't want to trade queens right there.
Oh, wait, but white was winning if you took, because some weird opposition.
Yeah, no, the white king was
if you
too
took on
close.
d6 and king c8, white was winning.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy, though. That's 2 endgames Hikaru has missed the chance to trade into a winning king and pawn ending. And again, we don't have time. This is not the most instructive chess show you're ever going to watch on Twitch, everyone, because it's bullet. But yeah, white was winning due to irregular flanking opposition there, and crazy stuff.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. And it's hard to trade like that because your king is so far away. You think, I might lose the game. And that is definitely not something that Hikaru wants. And you know what he's doing? He is waiting. He's going to go down to 1 second left and then make bishop h6. It will be a 3-time repetition. The game will be a draw, but at least he burns 30 more seconds off the match clock.
Yeah. And he's pausing to make sure he does that. And playing the meta game, taking a sip of that giant mug of water. There's not really much to do here. Looking at this analysis, every time I do it makes me laugh. Every time I do it makes me...
I can't do it anymore, dude. I'm trying to wean off the Nickelback references because otherwise I'm going to burn it to the ground.
Sorry, I was slow on the update there, reading chat. And that laugh was probably a little unnecessary. I'm so glad it's the weekend. All right. Well, the draw comes to Hikaru Nakamura. He has a 10-7 lead. We'll switch that scoreboard here in just a second. But yeah, that draw burns some time off the clock, and Hikaru Nakamura maintaining his lead.
Yeah. He's really playing a great match, but Magnus is making it more and more competitive, not just by the scoreboard, but just the way Magnus has played in many of these games. But I like what Hikaru is doing here. Look at how even this position is, and it's a complete draw, and that allows Hikaru to burn even more time off the clock because he's not going to lose this game. And Magnus, if he doesn't play quickly, at some point Hikaru may say, I'm not making a draw anymore. I'm going to try to flag you.
Yeah, but I'm just furious right now with our mods who did a poll for the best Nickelback song. Where's Photograph? Oh, Photograph's at the top. Green, because I missed it. Yeah, Photograph. There you go. Photograph is probably their best song.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah. Another King and Pawn ending. Hikaru going to get as much time off the clock as he can. Although I will say this. At this point, the meta of getting time off the clock isn't that relevant yet, right? This is not the type of lead, Robert, that is devastating. It's a 3-game lead. Remember, if it even gets within 1 game, we have overtime chess because the new rules are that you have to win bullet matches by 2. So I'm just pointing out that regardless of the fact that we're losing time here, I don't think that he's in a position to really protect the lead like that yet.
Yeah, it takes me back to Hikaru versus Wesley So and those speeches championships where they did this forever. It felt like because there was increment, which made it worse because you could make a little pawn move at some point and then start over again. In pure bullet, with 0 seconds added per move, someone's going to flag. They can't just wait forever. So the 50-move rule happened, and now we see in this game, Magnus, he's going for it. He is on the offensive on the king side, but has he overextended?
A nice strike by Hikaru to play F5. That's actually a really thematic, instructive point. I know we said we don't get a lot of analysis in bullet, everybody, but that was a really great thing because White has also opened his king with this pawn storm, and that's what Black points out with this F5 move. So Hikaru makes it spicy, and both kings are in danger.
And what's going on here? The queen went up to c4. Black blocked it. Is there trouble on this e6 square if you can trade? He just dropped the pawn on e6. Didn't Magnus have... There was a knight on e6. He could have taken this pawn on d6. So Magnus with the oversight, and now Hikaru... I mean, he looks like he's getting a knight f3 in there.
Yeah. Wow. Hikaru turned that around. Consider it done as far as Nickelback references in an interview. Consider it done. Maybe we'll do that thing where all of us are in the inside joke. Oh,
whoa. King f2.
Knight takes e2.
And
Rookie 8 is hanging.
Yeah, that... Look at the time.
Gosh.
Hikaru was kind of burning some of the clock, and then he made that move, and it was a rough decision. And Magnus, when bishop g5, allowing this, he had better options, but he just wants to make a draw. He does not want to lose on time. He just wants to grab these last pawns.
Yeah, he's only got 6 seconds. If Hikaru keeps a pawn, he has winning chances, but Magnus will have none of it. That one got away from Hikaru. And again, I know we've seen Hikaru doing more of the meta bullet things here, milking the clock, protecting a lead. But with 11 minutes plus to go here, we already saw Magnus overcome a 3-game deficit in 5 minutes versus Alireza Firouzja. So this is close.
I'm totally with you. I think that Hikaru, he's trying to use that strategy to his advantage, but in some of these games, it's his disadvantage. You'd rather win a game in 20 seconds than draw a game in a minute. There's still enough time for Magnus to make this comeback. And look at this position. It's very sharp, where White has an extra pawn, or did have an extra pawn over there on the queen side. Now Black is in the driver's seat. D5 that's a weakness. And whoa, that was a quick spot by Magnus.
Yeah. And he's going to have a couple extra pawns here. Plus the bishop versus knight dynamic should be better for Black. Only thing you have to watch out for usually is the time against Hikaru, but Magnus also up 5 seconds on the clock here. So a good turnaround for Carlsen. But that open king, Hikaru is not going to make this easy. Spying some tactics.
And B3 just fell, and now it looks like we're into an endgame that, unfortunately for Magnus, should be a draw. But now look at the clock. Magnus is the one up a few seconds. He's also up a pawn. He should try to win this game.
He should. And now he's got to pass the e-pawn. This is a lot harder to hold than it looks for White. If Magnus can keep his cool on the clock. He is still up 3 seconds. That's huge. Yeah, this is not easy.
The king could go up to f5. Or also e3
now. This
now.
Is objectively... Now it's objectively losing for White. Magnus in position to bring this back to 2 games.
Oh, but Hikaru tricked him. Hikaru tricked him. When the rook is in front, the king could come back to the second rank. But if the rook wasn't back there, there was going to be an e1 check. And now Hikaru's going up on time. Oh my goodness.
And he's the one who could win. On the board. I mean, okay, it's going to be a draw, but I wonder if he shouldn't have traded rooks there. That's crazy.
Wow.
I mean, what a save.
That was incredible. He understood that if his rook was behind the pawn, which you normally want, he couldn't get his king back. So he drops the rook to the first rank, brings it in front of the pawn, and his king was able to scamper back just in the nickel back of time. So that was a nice save there by Hikaru Nakamura.
You know?
And and now we have another game that's mainline stuff.
And yeah, we're going to do the game chat where all of us are on this inside joke. And Robert and I are going to try to squeeze Nickelback references into the interview. And it'll be awesome. It's going to be fun. I don't know who we're going to be interviewing. We still got a long ways to go. I will say that, again, I know it's a 3-game lead, but Hikaru's had his chances, Robert, objectively, I think, to make the lead bigger. We know he missed those spots in a couple of endgames, right, where he didn't convert to the king upon ending. So, will it come back to haunt him? Right now, Magnus, again, threatening to make it a 2-game lead.
He should be winning this. I don't see how you stop this pawn unless you give up your rook and a7 right now. Who cares about this bishop? You are getting this queen.
Yeah.
Magnus, he wins a quick game there. It's only a 2-point spread.
That's huge. That's huge. Exactly. No, this is again, I think that it's too early to provide criticism overall in any sort of match strategy, but I do think Hikaru protected his lead a little bit with a couple of those draws, and Magnus held on and now might have a little bit of momentum as we head to the final minutes.
And now we have another complicated opening where black is attacking on the queen side, and also white's not attacking anywhere because the rook on c8 keeps white's pieces honest.
Yeah, queen e2 is a nice little trick. He goes and steals that pawn. Whoa. But here comes Carlsen on the second rank.
Takes an f4. So he missed something better. I don't know what it was, but it clearly the eval bar, instead of being all the way down for black, it went back towards the middle. And somehow Hikaru's escaping? How?
Yeah. I don't know how Hikaru escaped that. And now it's turning around the other way. Knight e3. He blundered the endgame. Hikaru's got an extra pawn on the outside.
No, this is just great for Hikaru. In fact, he's winning. I think if I'm Magnus, I might just resign.
Wow.
Oh, and as soon as I say that, Hikaru blunders the pawn.
Hikaru blunders right back. What's the time? 28 to 18 seconds. So Hikaru should... Oh, f6 check. He pre-moved it. Hikaru played king e5, and Magnus had pre-moved f6. The house falls with the e6 pawn, and what a huge win for Hikaru that is, to keep Magnus's momentum back.
And you could just see the pain in Magnus's face as they get into another endgame. No queens on the board in this one. It seems to be the match strategy for these players. Let's go down to the endgame. White has the bishop pair, but we'll see if Magnus is still reeling from that loss. He needed to hold that game, but he still does have enough time to get a couple wins here. What is this position? Danny, this just looks really good for Magnus to my eyes, and the eval bar is absolutely unfazed.
Yeah. It looks great for white, but it's also a closed position that could go for a while here, the e-file being the only open one. So I'm starting to play the meta game, Robert. I'm looking at the time. Again, Magnus did overcome 3 games in 5 minutes for Firouzja, but Nakamura is a different animal. And you're starting to get up against it, where the closed positions are ones you just have to avoid, even if you're better.
Now black is better, and he pushes his pawn, so maybe some trades will happen, opposite colored bishops. There's a check on d5 here. Sorry, why is black better? Is it because the b pawn is just that strong?
You're asking me, you know? Eval bar needs a raise. Now that is a pun I could get behind right there. Okay, Magnus finds a way to get the counterplay. Unfortunately, though, this is a draw that's going to take another 30 seconds off the total game clock for sure. Hikaru's going to milk this all the way to the end, and we're going to be under 5 minutes.
And if you're Hikaru, I don't think you push the b pawn. You might just lose that endgame, as black will be up a piece, but white will have these passed pawns that will roll up the board. So Magnus needs to go like king g5, back to f5, back and forth over there, and Hikaru might... Yeah, he goes in. He goes in for the win.
He goes for it.
Hikaru's down on time. He's losing.
Oh, f4.
And here, Magnus
pushed it too far.
Magnus just needs to move. It doesn't matter if you blunder.
What a huge momentum shift here.
f6 and e7.
Oh my gosh. What a momentum shift. Magnus Carlsen wins to bring this within 2 games, and we have 4 minutes and 45 seconds left. I spoke too soon. I thought it was a dead obstacle bishop ending, and Hikaru should have taken the draw.
Mm-hmm. And then Hikaru brought his king in. He could have repeated at any moment, and you saw the grimace on his face. That was one of those, like, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do it? And speaking of why is he doing things, what is this opening for white? It looks really bad.
Yeah. This is where Hikaru is, you got to take a breath and not go into the kind of dubious opening lane that, again, sometimes he can revert to, which works against 99.999% of people in Bullet, but Magnus is going to get positions like this and be better if Hikaru plays those weird openings.
Just light square domination. You can't kick that.
Yeah.
Whoa, a queen sack on G4.
Wow.
He made that decision
actually
so quickly.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah. That was ridiculous. That might be one of the most ridiculous moments of the match. He's losing the game, though.
Yeah, he's losing the game now. It's falling apart, and that king is in a lot of danger. What a move there, G5, by the way, forcing the rook to the awkward square. And this is going to be a one-game match with 3 minutes to go, everybody. Buckle up. You're looking at a couple of rock stars where the chess comes easy and the blunders are cheap.
Danny, I thought you were saving me from all the Nickelback references, and then there you go. Well, what? Wait. Hikaru's blundered. And it seems like Magnus could have taken more advantage of it, but didn't. But still, he has the better position and the safer king. A knight into d5. The bishop slicing across the board. A long-range piece against the black king.
Yeah, the momentum, again, we've seen it happen. Magnus overcame momentum against Firouzja. Very similar to this. Down 3 games with about 5 minutes left. Now he's only down by 1, and you got to win by 2. Thanks for everything you just said, Captain Obvious. You're welcome.
I do appreciate it, but you know what I would do if I'm Hikaru here? I'm looking at the overall match clock, but it's only a 1-point spread. Look to flag Magnus. Bishops are more difficult to move than rooks in time scrambles. Magnus doing the right thing, pushing his pawn all over the board. It's a bishop and 3 pawns for a rook, and yet here I am saying, look at the clock and look at Hikaru's chances.
Yeah, objectively, the chess is good for white here, but the rook is so much easier to play in these spots. The bishop is stuck. You can't pre-move. Like, look at this. The rook can already pre-move in a way that white cannot. And that's such a practical advantage in these games.
He's going for the H.
He goes for it, but he had to take time on it.
Yeah, he's moving very slowly, and Hikaru playing... Oh, a repetition. I don't think that's good for Hikaru. I felt like he could have played on.
Yeah, I think he should have played king e5 there instead of the last rook a5 and allowed the game to go on. Now you're down to a game, though, that it could be it, right? If Hikaru wins this game, that's it. Magnus got to win to send us into overtime or at least not lose.
And what is this opening? It looks very adventurous, and white's king is safely castled. Black's king remains in the center, but black does have the pair of bishops. So I would say initial advantage white, but if the checkmate attack doesn't happen quickly, then black suddenly might be right back in this.
Agreed. F6. A spicy move. And you want that knight on d5, but he wants more than just a trade. Wow, rook enters the center, but here comes bishop e3.
But rook d3. Oh, he walked into it. Check. I missed the check.
Oh, he had a check. I missed the check. Everybody missed the check.
I mean, we're in scary territory. This queen just wrapped around a b5, but it's doing nothing over there. Yeah. In fact, the e4 pawn's about to drop, and the f6 pawn is also weak in the endgame.
No one knows what's going on here, least of all the eval bar. It's a 5-second time advantage, though, for Hikaru, which is huge if things stay the same. Magnus has got to make something happen or he's going to get flagged.
Yes, if Magnus is going to lose, he better keep an eye on the match clock and then resign immediately because there's still time left and he would have a chance to win that game. But, it's getting bad for him. It looks like the eval bar is saying white is better.
That's a brilliant point. If Magnus is going to lose, he needs to resign like now.
Yes, but it's unclear. In this position, it looks like black is the one who's doing well. He's stealing the pawns, but his clock is down under 11 seconds. He's grabbing all the pawns. He's got to go. He has to rush this like he's never rushed before.
Yep, 10 seconds. Here comes the A pawn. Push him.
You missed it. It's a tied match. It's a tied match. And they get one more game.
I
I think there were seconds on the clock. So this game doesn't start the 6-move mini match that they would have to see who can win by 2. We'll get word from our producers, but he went rook b4. I'm not sure if he was going for a cheeky, my opponent might pre-move, or he moused it. But either way, Magnus takes the game, and we are knotted up at 13.5.
OMGs snaps. There's a reason those emotes exist for subscribers. Emotes like this, because we freak out when bullet chess happens, and this is crazy. And Hikaru again just felt like he snatched a defeat, snatched a draw there from the jaws of victory. He and Magnus has got to get credit for keeping in those games. By the way, Magnus now up on the clock here.
I mean, this is a renewed sense of faith in his ability to win this match. And while we are seeing some trades, the h4 pawn is loose. That bishop on g7 hitting the e5 pawn. But I think Magnus with the lead on the clock, and I would take his position even though that rook just landed in the enemy camp.
Completely agreed. You gotta like White's position here. This is regulation. We have had it confirmed, we believe, by production and game ops who are behind the scenes making sure. Whoa.
What was rook e4? He's going for a rook lift. I guess there was a knight f6 check and opening up the e-file. And there's something here. Apparently there is. He goes queen d8. He wants rook d8 with a mating attack. The queen blocks in g6.
Yeah. There was queen takes f3 there for black, by the way, everyone. That's why he retreated to d3. Hikaru trying to get the queens off the board. Who's better here with the a pawn, the e pawn? I have no idea what's going on. Will Magnus just settle on a draw? No. I think he does.
And you see Magnus, he's mad at himself because he was up about 7 seconds. The match remains tied. Now we are into overtime. And so it changes things. We still win by 2, and they get 6 games. So after the 6th game, if there's someone in the lead, they win the match, even if it's just a 1-point margin. Danny, this is what the people wanted.
This is what the people wanted. It's what they signed up for. I am just sitting here like a little kid, just bundled up on Christmas, opening presents, knows that all of them are going to be great. Doesn't matter. I don't even know what's going on or any other holiday. I'm excited.
Hey, you like to open presents. I think Magnus wants to open the C file. This rook would have caused some problems, but he doesn't do that. Instead, he gives himself the F4 square and goes to the B file. And watch out, the A2 pawn is hanging. Rook B2. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's nasty. If you take it, we're going to have a baby girl Brittany on B1. You can't give black. Oh my God, it's all falling apart here. Hikaru will be down in the match. By the way, for the first time today, if he loses. Hikaru has not trailed in this match.
Wait, where did Magnus' queen just go? He didn't retreat it. He could have brought it back to F7, but he goes for this, and maybe we spoke too soon.
What just happened?
Oh my gosh. This F6 pawn is hanging.
How did that happen?
And he pre-moved king h8, and he's just losing the game.
Wow. Well, I gave a commentator's curse earlier, and it backfired on Hikaru Nakamura. I guess I just cursed Magnus there because I am shocked that Hikaru Nakamura has won that game.
I just can't believe Magnus didn't drop his queen back when he was stealing all the pawns in the position. Maybe he just didn't realize there was a bishop on b3 before that. He didn't realize he could go back, but that's a thing of the past. And right now, Magnus with the white pieces has a nice position, but he's down 5 seconds. So he needs to go after this d6 pawn. He needs to hammer away at Hikaru's setup. Did he just... Oh, he got so fortunate that the rook on a8 was loose.
So lucky. He blundered the skewer, but it didn't matter. Hikaru worse in this position, but as you said, up a few seconds on the clock. But again, it's win or go home. Literally, if anyone earns a 2-point margin, everybody, that's it. Chip it. We're done.
What is happening here? The rook b3 steals a pawn, but this open c file. Watch out for the black king. Oh, they're making mistakes. Both of them, of course. It's bullet. It happens. Yeah. Oh, there's apparently a winning. Queen h7.
Nerves.
Free knight. Free knight.
Queen e7. It was just hanging. Oh, he's still hanging. He sees it the third time.
Oh my
gosh. Agreed. These games never disappoint. Oh my gosh. Hikaru on a little bit of a delay. That's the moment where his knight was hanging.
And now bishop is hanging.
It's not over though.
Oh, he just dropped a second piece. So he first dropped a knight, then a bishop, and his queen's not trapped. But look at Magnus. Just get those queens off the board. And then, he didn't even have to. Hikaru resigned.
Yeah. Hikaru throws in the chow. We're back to tied, all netted up 15 games apiece. Moving on to our third game in overtime, everybody.
I haven't seen an overtime this good since UConn-Syracuse back in that Big East tournament. This is really some epic stuff. I mean, they must both be super nervous at this stage. And look at Magnus adopting this French-like structure without a light square bishop.
Yeah, good for black here. Magnus increasing his space advantage on the queen side. High-level chess and bullet. Look at this move, king d7, by the way. Oh, connecting the rooks.
A great endgame. That's what they say, right? I hate on the French in the opening, but when you get to the endgame, it's almost always better for black because the base pawn, f7, very hard to get to, and look at white's pawns, they're sticking out a bit.
Yep. Opposite position you want to be in a French. Also, no edge on the clock this time for Hikaru. He is staring down what could be his first deficit in the match.
And the last time you said it, you jinxed Magnus. This time you almost did as well, apparently. But look at that, these knights. They're going right after this rook, and if rook c2? What is happening here?
I have no idea. He's going to take c1 and be down the exchange, but he's got some compensation.
Oh, look,
what a trick.
He wants to trade them all. He wants to trade all the
93
rooks
is going to take everything off the board. Hikaru doesn't want it.
And Hikaru's in huge trouble. Magnus just has to take. Why did he spend like 5 seconds on that turn? He is wasting time.
Yeah, now he's losing the c-pawn, and he doesn't even win the material back. This is going the wrong direction for for Magnus.
Okay, but he did go up a piece here. And he's keeping knight f5. Go give a check. Just give a check somewhere.
What's the time? Oh, but you got 10 to 7 seconds here.
And it's now under 8.
Super dangerous for Magnus.
Yeah, he's pre-moving. He's trying his best. Oh, he's blown to the a5 pawn, and now Hikaru's taking it, and he's taking the g6 pawn. So if the rooks come off, Hikaru
oh my god, and white's even better now.
Oh my gosh. And Magnus lost the time.
Wow. He screams at the screen, unbelievable. I don't know what he's yelling about, but that is not what you wanted. Hikaru maintains a 1-game lead, or regains a 1-game lead, and Magnus has never led in this match.
And I think part of it is your fault. The commentator's curse strikes again.
I'll shut up. I mean,
no, you do the talking. Hey, we're not rooting for anybody here.
Every time Magnus gets close to taking his first lead, again, just joining, Hikaru has led this match wire to wire. Magnus completed at one point, what was it, a 4? Was it 5 games at one point?
It ballooned up to quite a substantial difference between them. I guess they're chatting. Maybe Hikaru, because his matches haven't been close, he doesn't know that overtime is still win by 2. They're checking to see what game they are. So that is very smart. That is really smart by both of them. They're seeing how many games do we have left before it becomes sudden death.
Yeah. So they're chatting with the team. Staff confirmed it was 5 games of a lead for Hikaru Nakamura at one point. In fact, at a couple different points, Hikaru had a 5-game lead. So we are in overtime chess here. Both players confirming where the match sits. It's a win by 2 scenario unless we get to 6 games, and then it's sudden death. Whoever wins is your bullet chess champion. Although actually, if Magnus Carlsen wins, we get more chess. So for the content, many people rooting for Magnus. for the Hikaru fans, they don't want to see any more chess.
And who do you think that little stall favored? Because Magnus lost the game, but both players must be nervous. So do you feel like any side gets the upper hand thanks to that mini break?
I think with players like this who are just objectively so good, it probably doesn't really matter. But you have to believe it always favors the person who lost the game to be able to take a breath. So maybe Magnus can kind of control his emotions for a moment. He is up a little bit in terms of space here.
Oh, and the d6 pawn is the worst pawn on the board if you can get around your dark square bishop. So yeah, a little bit extra space for Magnus, but a lot of extra time for Hikaru. 5 seconds at the moment. And whoa, what just happened to the king side?
What just happened there?
I look away for a second, and it's like vacuumed off the board.
Yeah, everything just exited. Hikaru probably okay with a draw, even though that doesn't win the match because he's black, gives him another chance to win with white. Remember, it's win by 2, unless we get to the 7th game.
This is an incredibly played game thus far, Danny. I've been watching the eval bar. It hasn't moved. They put all the best moves to this point, and Black gives
That's
up a piece,
insane.
but gets a bunch of pawns.
And it's going to be a draw by perpetual check. Maybe
No,
not, but
no,
this
Hikaru should play for a win. Look at the clock.
he should, and he knows it, and he does it. Hikaru going in. Wait, there was a blunder. Queen B6.
Yeah, this pawn is promoting. He allowed the queen in. The pawn is promoting. You see it on Magnus' face. He knows.
God.
It's over.
Oh my God! And that
It does it.
is how Hikaru Nakamura defended his Bullet Chess Championship title.
Oh my goodness. That was a clash of titans. And Hikaru speaking to his fans, his audience on his stream. But Magnus, he's as disappointed there with a second place finish. But Hikaru, he didn't trail a single time in the match. And Magnus almost made it happen, but almost is not good enough.
A wire-to-wire victory for the reigning Bullet Chess champion. Magnus Carlsen will not get one of the only titles in chess that has evaded him at this point in his career. Hikaru Nakamura is still the Bullet Chess champion.
Still, again, fourth time Bullet Chess champion. And look at that final score. 17-15. We had free chess. We had overtime. And for Magnus, you got to give him credit for that comeback. He was trailing throughout the match. He almost took a lead, but he couldn't just make it work. In the time scrambles, Hikaru was simply better.
Wow, what a thriller. Kind of weird how it ended there with the players confirming the score. I mean, but it all happened so fast. In the end, Hikaru Nakamura does what he's done most of his career, which is outspeed, outplay, outbattle people in Bullet, and he is still the Bullet, again, World Chess Champion, if you want to call it that. It's not World. B-Day, relax, but you get it. What a crazy day we just had.
And it's been a crazy day. It's been a crazy week, but it's over. Our bracket will not change from here. There are nobody else joining the competition. Nobody else left standing besides Hikaru Nakamura. So it's all over. Hikaru Nakamura is your champion. And so with that, I think we are going to take a break. Leave your questions in the chat because when we return, Danny and I will be joined by none other than your Bullet Chess champion, Hikaru Nakamura.
Did you teach certain positions or openings or middle games, or what did your training people look like?
I'll give you one of the secrets here. So a good coach will correct your moves, but a great coach will correct your thinking. And
all right, hold on. I want to repeat that again for the people in the back. Can you just repeat that again?
So a good coach will correct your moves, and a great coach will correct your thinking. So really part of the magic of coaching is holding a mirror up to a child so they can see their own thinking. And sometimes you made the move because you were overconfident, you were dismissive of your opponent. And so whether they were this kind of self-knowledge, this self-awareness is part of the cognitive process, and it helps to accelerate their learning curve as players. And so meaning games are not lost because you didn't know the Roy Lopez, or you didn't know the 14th move of the Roy Lopez, or because you couldn't execute a rook and pawn endgame. Yes, of course, these are technical things that you need to win chess games. But games are also lost because of lack of self-knowledge. So the issue of Spassky losing to Petrosian, I tell the story many times, but Spassky lost the world championship to Petrosian in 1966. Spassky goes back to Botvinnik and he says, why did I lose? Now, many people may not know, but Spassky was an incredibly talented chess player, right? In many ways, he's considered one of the first universal chess player. He can attack like Tal and he can defend like Petrosian, but he loses this match. And Botvinnik told him, the great talented Boris Spassky, did you study Petrosian? Right? So meaning he didn't think it was important to study the opponent. The famous line from Sun Tzu, know your enemy, know yourself, in 1,000 battles you will never lose. He just thought it was about Spassky. And so he had to take the time and recognize that he needed to understand Petrosian Beating you means I must understand you. Chess is a conversation, is a dialogue between the two chess players. So by 1969, he knew what to expect at the chessboard. He has studied Petrosian, and he eventually becomes the 10th world champion.
That's awesome.
And we are back, just about ready to interview your champion of the 2023 Bullet Chess Championship, Hikaru Nakamura. As I said before the break, the bracket, it's set in stone. Nothing will change. And the name that will be written in the history books as the winner is Hikaru Nakamura.
He got the job done. Wow, was that a wild ride, Robert. He holds on at one point with a 5-game lead. Magnus Carlsen comes storming back, wins by 2 in overtime. I could say a lot more, but I think we're just going to look at the bracket and see how he got the job done, Robert.
Yeah, the final name does the talking. Hikaru Nakamura. He talks while playing chess at the highest level, and he's about to talk to us. So, Hikaru, we welcome you into the show. Huge congratulations. How are you feeling now that you just took down Magnus Carlsen?
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy match. Obviously, at some points, I thought I had the match under control. I mean, I think there was there were many games that were back and forth, but I think pretty consistently, I was the one who was ahead on the clock. And because of that, I was really pressing him. Magnus found some amazing resources. There were probably 2 or 3 games when I was up, I want to say like 3 or 4, where I thought it was GG, and he kept hanging in. And there was that one game where I was up by 3, the bishop ending, and then I tried to win it. Like, I told myself I was just going to make the draw with the opposite colored bishops. I went for it, and then it kind of went downhill. But nonetheless, it was just, I think, really, really exciting for the fans. I'm glad that I found a way to keep it together at the very end.
Is it hard to keep your emotions together when you know there were games like that, Hikaru, like the bishop ending? There was that one game that maybe you could have traded rooks and been winning in the king and pawn ending, which you realized after. And if your opponent makes a comeback, are those games kind of calling at you and distracting you, or are you able to forget them and just stay focused in the moment?
Well, I mean, there's one very important thing, which is that for better or worse, I've lost a bunch of games against Magnus where he's pulled these shenanigans. He finds ways to win games that he should never win, let alone draw. And so I've had a lot of experience of being on the wrong end of those games. And so I think having had those experiences certainly helps a lot in terms of not like going over the top and losing your mind. I mean, Magnus does it better than anyone else. Like, even when I think about my games against Alireza or others, like, they aren't able to find ways to survive losing positions. When they get the good positions, they do things, but the losing positions where they can turn around, it doesn't happen that often. And I mean, the fact that Magnus did that just with all the experience, I was able to just keep going. I think more than that, the mindset that I had, there was also a game where I think I blundered. I was down like, it was queen and rook versus queen with the passed e pawn, I think, or d pawn, whichever pawn it was. And I just said, keep going, keep making moves. And that was sort of the emblematic of the spirit I had, which is once a game ended, you just keep moving forward, just keep trying to play moves. And I seem to do it quite well. And I think that was the main thing, is I really mastered the tempo. And I was able to just keep moving quickly. And Magnus, I mean, he just wasn't able to be as precise in some of the critical games.
Well, on that note, Hikaru, it seemed like many of the games were taken to the end game quite quickly. Some early queen trades. Was that part of your pre-match preparation? You have no more opponents to face. You can let us know what your prep was.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Magnus going into the end games was a huge mistake. Actually, now I can say this too. There were a couple games against Alireza as well where I felt like when he was ahead by maybe 2 or maybe it was 3 games, or like 2 or 3 games with the black piece, I think, where I got these quick end games. I was able to just get into the rhythm, move really quickly. And I felt for Magnus it was a huge mistake going into the end games. So I think in general I was just quicker than him. And it's not as though Magnus can't outplay me. Obviously, I mean, he is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, endgame players of all time. But I felt that the endgames that we were getting in, the moves were too easy for me. It was a situation where I'm trying to think of a good analogy. I guess I'll use American football as the analogy. But in American football, there are two types. They're running backs, and one type of running is what we call downhill running, where basically you just run right into the linebackers ahead of you, go straight into them. The other one is where you juke, you try to go side to side, all that other stuff. And very much I felt like it was very downhill, where my moves were just instant. I could make the moves instantly. It's like going right into the game. You don't have to think. There's none of this fancy schmancy, but you go right into the game. And I thought it was a huge mistake for Magnus to go into the end games as much as he did. I also thought Magnus didn't vary the openings enough. I got too many of these positions that were similar to my match against Jossim earlier, because Jossim also plays e4, d4, knight f3, bishop d3, c3. And same thing happened today, where so many games I got like the first 15, 20 moves without having to think, and then I was just quicker than Magnus. So I would say those were going to the end games, and then the lack of variety, especially with the white pieces, were probably his 2 mistakes. But obviously it still could have gone either way, even at the end. Magnus he wasn't able to keep together in those final 2 games, and I mean, I just found a way.
Amazing stuff. Hikaru, this is your 4th Bullet Chess Championship title, I think. You've also won a whole lot of Speed Chess Championships. But one thing that's been different in these last 2 events is you beat Magnus Carlsen in the final. And obviously we know that there's a lot going on in the world of online chess, right? And so having the opportunity to play Magnus, does that make these a little bit sweeter? Getting Magnus in these events that you haven't beaten him before, does that make this title a little bit more important than even the previous one?
I mean, I don't want to downplay, because of course, if I say what everyone knows that I want to say, people are going to be mad and everything. So I guess what I would say in general terms is that, when I look at playing Magnus, it's always a great pleasure to play against the best player in the world. I think for me, I feel like I can compete with him on equal terms. I think I've proven that actually over the last year or so. But more importantly and beyond that, I think the thing that a lot of people don't understand, and the thing that really does separate Magnus, besides the fact that he's just a beast and plays such great chess, is the psychological grip that he has, or the psychological edge. I mean, if you looked at his match against Alireza, Alireza was so close to winning, and it seemed like he was going to win that match. Magnus was able mentally to keep it together better than Alireza was. He was able to win those games at the end and snatch that victory away from Alireza. I think Daniel was actually quite similar. Daniel had some good positions very early. Once he missed like one or two of those opportunities, boom, it just all went downhill instantly. And so, I mean, I feel like it's a lot of it is in the mind, and I think I said this before, but as far as Bullet goes, I think that if I keep it together and I just I don't get inside my own head, I can play with anybody. And I think I've proved that, especially against the best player in the world the last few times.
Yeah, you certainly have proven against any opponent that comes your way. And I guess the question I have for you is, are there any people out there, even in this field, that you see room for improvement from them, or any up-and-comers that you think will be challenging for BCC titles in the future?
I mean, I think Alireza obviously is a big question mark. I think, when I look at Alireza, whether it's Bullet or Blitz or Raptor or Classical, I mean, I think there's probably some mental things that he needs to work out. I think if he works those out, I mean, the sky really is the limit for him. I mean, Magnus is Magnus. I mean, I don't even know how you say Magnus can improve, because he's obviously so ridiculously good already. But I think that if I was looking at any player, it'd probably be Alireza, maybe even Danya, if Danya could actually stop being so afraid of Magnus and myself. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say that, but I do get the sense that with Danya, I think he also can play completely on par with Magnus and myself. But the problem is that I feel like in the critical moments he starts worrying, he starts respecting us too much. He expects us to just blow him away. And I think I'd say Alireza and Daniel are probably the two players who, I mean, if they could sort some of those mental kinks out there, I mean, they very easily could win against both of us. I think it's really selling them short to act as though they have no chance.
Yeah. One player missing is Nihal Sarin. What do you think about him if he joins the field? How does he stack up?
Yeah, I mean, Neil. Actually, I forgot about Nihal. He is the one player who I believe was invited and declined, and everybody's wondering why he didn't play. I mean, obviously, I have no idea why he chose not to. I think that it's been a while since I played him in that SEC match, but he always performs very well. I know that when I think about players that I've played online, he is the other player who's very, very pesky, very annoying. Somehow he keeps finding resources and keeps the games going. Definitely someone to watch. I would say actually Nihal more so than any other player near the top in recent times. He's very, very reminiscent of myself. Very, very reminiscent. Very good at Blitz, very good at Bullet, plays online all the time, much like I used to when I was in like the mid 2600s. And I mean, I think at some point he's going to be able to turn on classical chess, but I think he's another player that has great chances in all the online formats if he's able to if he's able to play. I don't know why he couldn't play, but he is the one player who's kind of we don't know where he's at, but he could get up there.
Yeah, we, of course, would love to see Nihal play in future editions, and he's always invited, so he just needs to accept. But we have accepted a few questions from the chat. So the first featured chat question I want to ask you is from Fui-san Geno, who says, Hikaru, how did you regain yourself after having a strong lead and Magnus being able to tie up the match?
Well, I mean, I think the main thing is that I was in this zone where I wasn't even thinking about anything, kind of. I mean, there was one moment that it bothered me, which was basically when I lost the bishops of opposite color ending, where I tried to go king c3, or no, I tried to go to f2 and win the g2 h3 pawns. That was the one moment where I did look at the clock around the time where I could have made an easy repetition. And I didn't. That's where I felt like I thought for a brief second there I had the match won. That was the one moment when I let the situation kind of get in my head a little bit. But after that, it was more just like start the next game, just pound or blitz out, whatever adjective you want to use, to get those moves on the board as quickly as possible. And then once you're in the game, the time's ticking down, you don't have time to think about anything else. And I think that was the most important thing, is that like the start of the openings, I was able to blitz out like 10 or 15 moves, and I had no issues doing that. So it was more that because it was Bullet and I could make all those moves so quickly, I never really had such thoughts about or it's a verb, whatever, same thing. But yeah, you guys get the point.
No, it's great. Honestly, we've got more featured chat here, but it's a great interview, so I want to keep stealing questions of my own. I'm going to try to combine one. So this is a question from Johnny Baker 27, which he asked, what changed for you from the past when you used to have a tough time against Magnus and now you beat him? And I'm going to kind of build on that again with the psychological edge that again, as you said, maybe used to exist or does exist for Magnus in a lot of ways, wasn't there, even though you watched Magnus play really well today, right? He returned to Norway. He was on a roll. Mm-hmm. He beat Danya and Alireza. Was there a part of you that was kind of looking at Magnus and worried about his form? And why does he not have the same psychological edge over you anymore if he used to?
Well, I mean, there are a few reasons. I have no ambitions in classical chess anymore. I have no ambitions, period, in chess. I'm a streamer first. So that's the most obvious point. A lot of people are going to make more jokes and memes about it. But at the end of the day, like if I think about it from like Alireza's perspective, I mean, obviously I don't know for sure that this is his perspective, but you know, back when I was playing chess all the time, playing top tournaments, there's really only one goal you have in mind. And that is try to get into the Canada's tournament. If you can get there, then, you know, the chips will fall where they may. That's obviously very much a coin flip or a roulette table when you're playing in such an event, because anything can happen, frankly. But it's like, get to that tournament, maybe get to a world championship. So that's really the only thing you can think about. And the hardest part is that with Magnus always there playing such insane chess, you're always worried about him. Then you see him play all these games, like you see what he did against Alireza today, against Daniel, the way he stormed back against me. And it's very easy to just sort of stop thinking of him as a human. It really is. Like some of these things that he does on the board, sometimes you don't understand it. I mean, there are many examples from my own games against him that I could use. And I think the fact that I don't have such thoughts anymore, I don't really worry about trying to become world champion or trying to get to number one. I mean, these things are just like gravy on top of the mashed potatoes, as we like to say here in the South. So I think for me, it's just like, I just play, I have fun. And also I have to add separately though, I think for Magnus, one of the perhaps, I don't want to say mistakes, but I think he watched a lot of my streams during the heart of the pandemic. And I think when you watch my streams, it also sometimes makes me seem better at chess than I actually am too, because I'm explaining all these things, all these deep concepts. And I think that also might play some role as well. So I don't know if I completely answered your question, but I mean, I think it's just, I don't care. I just play, have fun, whatever happens. Nothing changes in my world. You know, I can become world champion. I'll still be a streamer first. Nothing's going to change. So no pressure, no worries, no stress in life. And I'm sure there's some psychology inspiration video that someone's done on this exact thing, but it is what it is.
Wow. Well, I mean, you know, it's always good to hear you tell it like it is, and you say you don't feel the pressure, but it does sometimes feel like, you know, you're still just improving almost. And I guess a question from the chat that's related to this from Sahar Malik is, well, what is your best advice to get better at bullet chess? Because Magnus did seem to be an improved version of himself in that final match, and you rose to the occasion.
I mean, bullet is so hard. I mean, honestly, I feel like bullet, I would say for anybody who's not like 2600 plus, just play it for fun. Don't think about improving. Just play it because you want to play it. That's really all that I think I can say. I mean, I would say if you're above that, I would use like Nihal as an example of somebody where he plays all the time online. I think if you're trying to improve at bullet, you should play as much as you can online if you have the time. But again, most of us don't have the time to play bullet like 10, 12 hours every day. But I was lucky that you know, back when I was younger, I did used to play. Like I had these great matches, and again, like I can only just now I'm one of the old guys. I'm not one of the young guys anymore. I remember, you know, when I was like 12, 13, 14 on the Internet Chess Club, I would play these marathon, like 5-6 hour matches with guys like Hawkeye, that German GM Roland Schmaltz. And like, I mean, I was fortunate to have that opportunity. So I think you just have to play as much as you humanly can if you have the opportunity. And, you know, also it was funny because my openings against Alireza and Magnus today were very much in the spirit of my childhood openings, the openings that I learned from my stepfather, but then also that I played online all the time in many of those bullet games. So it's always E4, knight C3, and then like Grand Prix attack, play like the Austrian attack against Hawkeye. I mean, all those great openings. So I think if you have the time, just play as much as you can.
Today was a throwback. We mentioned curtains earlier. We mentioned the Year of the Rabbit. We mentioned Hawkeye. This is how you remind us of who we really are. That's a Nickelback reference. Hikaru, Nickelback. What's the best
What
song?
about Nickelback?
Best Nickelback song.
I don't listen to Nickelback. Come on. No, actually, you know, I did want to say one thing. I don't know which song was on my playlist, but there's one great song during this match which really got me grooving. There was this Indian song. I don't even know. I'm sure people in chat will know what it is, but there was this Indian song which I started singing to, which was like the best thing ever. It was Chaya Chaya, I think it was. Like that was like the greatest thing ever. That really helped me just get grooving. Because I think at that time I was ahead, but that really got me into it. So I mean, the Indian songs are great, and no wonder all these Indian players are so good. They should be so inspired by their music.
Hollywood for the win, man.
Hey, Hikaru, we never want this event to end. We don't really want this interview to end, but we will let you keep grooving on your stream. Congratulations once more. This was such a fantastic performance by you.
Thank you so much, you guys. Have a great one.
Awesome. Can't wait for next year. See you, man. Seriously, I already can't wait for next year's event. I literally can't wait for the next year's Bullet Championship.
Nobody can wait. Can we just, instead of having a next year's, can we have like a next month's?
We just do it next week.
Wait. Doesn't Bullet Brawl happen tomorrow where all the best players, including Hikaru, Danya, Jose Martinez, Magnus, Tang, etc., don't they just go and play that?
That's a great call out. Yeah, Bullet Brawl tomorrow on Saturdays and every Saturday forevermore. It's the Saturday Title Tuesday. For those who didn't know, it happens. Best players in the world playing Bullet tomorrow if you want more action. But wow, great interview there. And we got another great interview around the corner here.
Yeah, we're about to get Magnus Carlsen in for an interview. You know, even in loss, he still comes on. So Magnus, if you can hear us,
Magnus,
thanks
can
so
you
much
hear
for
us?
joining. And sorry it didn't go your way.
Yeah, can you hear me as well?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, good.
Magnus, like Robert said, thanks for joining us, even though it didn't go your way. Let me just ask the question right off the bat. Where do you, if you had to play this match over again, is there anything you would have done differently? Where did you feel the edge slightly went to Hikaru?
It's hard to say. I felt that at the start, the first couple of games, he was outplaying me completely, and then it was still pretty close. And then there was a stretch where he was building up a lead, and I was like, so the thing is that I played some bullets over the years, not that much specifically on chess.com, but I played like over the years. But the thing is, I never played Hikaru, and I've seen Hikaru crush everybody else, and even in this tournament. But I always kind of thought that I matched up decently with him, and that sort of my main strength, I think, which is also his main strength, is that we're simply better at chess than the others, and so we can make good moves more quickly. So they need to spend time. But then, yeah, at some point, like he was playing a lot faster than I was, and he was playing much better, seeing all kinds of tactics, and that was a massive reality check for me. I was at that point I was thinking, okay, so he's just that much better than I am. I was like, yeah, fair enough. This guy's just a beast. I think he was feeling the flow at that point. And I think it was the same as with Alireza. Like, I was losing a bunch of games in a row. I just like to get that one draw, one win to stop the bleeding. I think he became a bit more defensive at a certain point, but then I actually had chances which I didn't really think I would at some point. But yeah, what I just want to say is I'm extremely impressed. I mean, I always knew that he was good. I always thought that he was somewhat better than I was at Bullet, but that he was like this much better, I didn't realize. And yeah, it's insanely impressive.
Magnus, that's extremely high praise of coming from you of all people, but the match was tied at 15, and then he won the last two. So it was a level match. And I guess on that note, like, how did you improve your play over time? You're back home. Do you think that made a big difference, or what was it about today where you elevated your game?
Yeah, I was back home. Like, that just meant that I saw I have a better setup, and I'm still not fast in scrambles, but I would be like a little bit faster. Like, I could actually they may not be good moves, but I'm actually like able to make quick pre-moves, which I just wasn't the last few days. And I think, I mean, I said before the tournament that I thought, that I thought Alireza and Hikaru were much better than the others. well, except for me, I thought I could compete with them, and I still sort of think that Alireza is like a little bit better than I am, but yeah, Hikaru is very strong, and yeah, I could have won the match for sure, but yeah, I wouldn't have felt like I beat like that. It would be just natural. I mean, at no point in the match did I really feel superior at all.
Wow, it's high praise. And Magnus, how much? Kind of a weird question, but how much does that motivate you? Right? In no way would we compare Online Bullet to the many titles you've won in your career, World Championships, Rapid, and Blitz. But how motivated do you get when you play a format where you're like, huh, like this guy's better than me at this, right? Does that motivate you already, even in looking ahead?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm just really happy that I managed to get to the final and I didn't make a complete fool of myself. Like if I mean, if I'd been blown out in the final, that would have been fine. Just getting there was good, but overall this is a very good result for me. I think, you know, if I was completely rested, you know, maybe I'd have a chance to upset him. I think he's certainly better, but maybe at my best, I'm like good enough that it's not a shock if I win. And I mean, I can try to improve a little bit. I don't suspect that I'll be practicing a lot. To be honest, like most of the time I just find playing Bullet pretty stressful, but we'll see. I gotta say also, before the match against Hikaru, as I said, like I was extremely happy to get there, but I felt like I'd already sort of expended so much, not so much energy, but more like nervous energy in the match against Alireza. Fortunately, I like the match against Naroditsky was pretty comfortable, but I felt a bit drained after the match with Alireza, but I'm happy. It was a good match, and I think overall, you know, I'm pretty proud actually of my performance here.
You should be proud of it for sure. Magnus, on that note of you felt like you expended a lot of energy, Danny and I were talking as the match was beginning as Hikaru. Did you feel like you would be with the advantage because you were in the flow? You've been playing Bullet for a few hours, or that the rest was more important? So, do you think that it would have made a difference if you had more time separated between your match against Alireza and your match against Hikaru?
I think rest is more important, also because there is always some sense of flow. But I mean, in terms of rest, I don't think it's about those hours necessarily. It's probably more that I should have spent my time this week a bit differently if I wanted to optimize my results. But that's yeah, that's fine. I don't think the resting time made a massive difference. It's always I think it's a slight advantage, but not a big deal.
More rest, better Bullet, right? Who would have known? I only have one more question, Magnus. I texted you between the Danya match and the other match about holding alt when you promote. Did you know that when he did that stalemate trick, if you hold alt and you take, you can get a knight? You know that?
Yeah, I know. It just didn't occur to me that I could underpromote.
Okay, just yeah.
I mean, at that point, like I already like had my guard down. Yeah, of course. Actually, I tried the same thing yesterday. In that I think we started this last game with like 8 seconds left or something, and I tried to start the last game against Andrew as well, just so that we can get one more game of practice. But yeah, no, I knew it. I don't know if I've ever done it actually. So like, if you're playing me in Bullet, like, yeah, and I have to promote to a night, I'll probably lose some time.
Well, it's something for someone to prepare against you. And we did ask the chat for some questions. And Galaxy Milk 100, first of all, great username, wanted to know, how did you prepare for your match against Hikaru? Did you do anything before your other matches today, or in the break, or anything like that?
No, I mean, I had an energy drink, and I poured some water into my face, and I tried to, yeah, and I didn't know what to do. Like, yeah, he's so good. Also, as I said earlier, like, my main advantage is that I can play faster, and like, if I don't have that, it's really tough.
I got one more question as well from featured chat, and I think you kind of already answered this, Magnus, but we want the fans to get their questions in. From the Hill 2501 wants, Magnus, can you please explain the mouse arc from the last couple of days? Maybe that was part of being home, that your actual physical setup was different.
Yeah, that's the thing though. Like, I'm a little bit faster or probably a lot faster, even though I'm still slow. So yeah, I like the bigger screen better. I feel like I see the board, geometrical things in a better way, even though, I still blunder every second move, but so does everybody.
Everyone makes mistakes. Yeah, it's true. And thanks so much for your thoughts, Magnus. We'll let you go, but I do want to wish you the best of luck in the upcoming World Cup, since I know that event is starting soon. But thanks so much for joining us. And I know second place isn't first, but congrats on really an awesome performance.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really happy.
Thanks, man. See you, Magnus. That was great. Great interview there from the world number one, former world champion. I don't even know how to say that anymore. It's just awkward. But he does take second place, Robert, and Hikaru Nakamura is the man on top of them all at the end of the day.
Oh, he is. He was the defending champion. He's the champion once more. And Magnus Carlsen slots there in second place. And his words, you said everything you needed to hear. Hikaru is just so darn good. I mean, what does anybody on this planet have to do to overtake Hikaru in Bullet? That's a question that remains unanswered. But then I'm just happy to hear that Magnus is happy, not just as a person, but the fact that he could lose a match and simply just like, wow, that opponent is scary good, and he impressed me.
It shows what a sportsman he is, and I know how he feels about playing in formats where he doesn't consider himself the favorite. He loves it. He thrives and wants those opportunities. Obviously he didn't get this one today. I think a momentum turning into exhaustion thing, right? As he said, maybe he didn't spend his week in a way that allowed for the most energy even here on a Friday. But despite how complimentary he was, Robert, as you said, it was a very close match. Came down to overtime. Although I do also agree with him, and I think you would too, that if we had to think back about games that got away from someone, there were more games that got away from Hikaru that he probably should have won. So the truth is, Hikaru is just so bleeping good at Bullet, right? And Magnus felt that today, despite how close it was and complimentary he was. There's a reason Nakamura is the guy at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, Hikaru just stands atop the mountain as the Bullet champion. He earned it, as you just said, and as Magnus admitted that Hikaru had some opportunities slip out of his fingertips, and it maybe could have been a different match, but still, it was into overtime. It was a 2-point win for Hikaru Nakamura over Magnus Carlsen, and I guess I have one final question for you. Well, I have two. First, I just thought about this. You didn't ask Magnus about Nickelback, so go text him right now and ask him for his favorite song so we can tell everybody before the show ends. But, more relevant, who impressed you most about this event, and what do you look forward to for next year?
Wow. Honestly, I'm gonna say this, I mean this totally genuinely. I was impressed by the format as a fan. I will be honest, I've never watched this much of the Bullet Chess Championship before, because in past years, Robert, I commentated with you, or there was a year where I didn't, but I'll be honest, I didn't get to watch that much. I was impressed by how enjoyable this was, because I think sometimes Bullet, presents in a way that's almost too fast, right? You don't get those instructive moments that you get in even just a little bit slower chess, 3-minute or 5-minute. But this was so much fun. It was so much fun to watch. The matches were so hype and it was so close. So I'm going to say like the format was the most impressive. It was an amazing show to watch. You were incredible. I really mean that. And but then I also will say at the end of the day that Hikaru Nakamura just continues to deliver. It's insane. It's insane. And even though he says what he does about being a streamer, the truth is he is probably playing the best chess of his career. And I think it probably is true that regardless of whether you got to that phrase as a meme or not, the fact that he literally doesn't care has somehow brought out the best of his talents. And it's crazy to watch and so much fun to think that we will have future matches where these two guys are playing probably for years to come.
And I don't remember where I first heard it, but it's good to be nervous because you care, but not because you're scared. Hikaru Nakamura, if he ever was scared, he is scared no more of Magnus Carlsen. There's a ton of mutual respect there, and Hikaru earns this title ahead of Magnus, just like he did at the 2022 Speed Chess Championship. And this concludes the event that is the Bullet Chess Championship, but we have more great events for you. It may not be played at a lightning pace, it may not involve Hikaru or Magnus, but we have PogChamps 5 starting at the end of the month. 16 of the world's biggest creators will go head-to-head in the greatest event in amateur chess, brought to you by Chess.com and PogChamps legend Ludwig. Watch your favorite creators like Cutie Cinderella, CDogVA, XQC, Tyler1, I Did a Thing, and the others fight for their share of a $100,000 prize fund and a ticket to the live finals where Danny Wrench will be in Los Angeles. Use the command POG in chat for all the details. Danny,
I thought you were going to say also it may not even have good chess. Sorry, I thought you were going to say it may not even have good chess, but it's great. And we already teased some of the players. I didn't know we were going to do that. But yeah, Tyler1 is playing this year. There's some other really big names that are joining. We're going to tease later. So sorry, I stole your thunder as you send us out here. But go ahead, man.
You could never steal my thunder unless it's Tropic Thunder, but we should probably not talk about that movie on air. But no, I was going to say,
longer
Danny,
okay.
It's always a true pleasure to be joined by you. I mean, over the years, we've commented so many events and so many different venues online, different time controls, different formats. But it's always an absolute pleasure, especially for, as you said, this format: win by 2, double elimination, bullet chess, Hikaru, Magnus, Alireza, Danya. We've seen it all, and we've had a blast.
I don't even know that I got much else to say. You're the man. Much love. You crushed it this week. This was so much fun. Fans, circle your calendar for whenever we announce the Bullet Chess Championship next year, because it's going to be just as lit. And thank you for having me, Robert.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. And thanks to everybody who's tuned in each and every day. We appreciate every one of you. Thanks for the thoughtful questions. Thanks for supporting all the players. And just thanks for loving chess. So until next time, this has been Robert Hess and Danny Wrench, and we appreciate you all. Have a good one.
Only 13 minutes remain right now. Whoa, we have a blunder. Danya's going to get it with the fist pump. Magnus is almost in the territory where he can just start letting the clock tick. It's stalemate if you take the rook. That's what's going on here. And Magnus I am calling the momentum out. Magnus has already won a match today. He's looking fresh, feeling fresh in his home environment. And Firouzja is going to win his 6th game in a row. Bullet is a game of momentum more than anything else, and Firouzja is on fire right now. Magnus Carlsen has turned this thing around, and now he's bobbing his head to music again. Firouzja needs to find it.
Whoa, he resigned?
10 seconds early, and Firouzja leans back, and Magnus is celebrating.
Magnus moves on to the grand final.
And Magnus is going to level things up in this game unless something wild happens. He also has a huge edge on the clock.
Unreal play thus far from Hikaru. He's fast. He's playing very accurately, and he's getting to the end games where he can play for 2 results, as we say in classical chess. Magnus, he wins a quick game there. It's only a 2-point spread.
10 seconds. Here comes the A-pawn. Push him.
You missed it. It's a tied match. It's a tied match. And they get one more game. I think. God. And he pre-moved King H8, and he's just losing the game. But look at Magnus. Just get those queens off the board, and then, he didn't even have to. Hikaru resigned.
Hikaru going in. Wait, there was a blunder. Queen B6.
Yeah, this pawn is promoting. He allowed the queen in. The pawn is promoting. You see it on Magnus' face. He knows.
God, that
does it.
Is how Hikaru Nakamura defended his Bullet Chess Championship title.